Hey, Sam, how's it going?
Hello, hello. We are live on the internets. Look at that.
That's right.
It's going well. How are you, my friend?
I am doing very, very well. I would say this. I wasn't sure how to react to the last 3 seconds of the intro song because it got really, really slow. And then it was like the last beat.
Yep. Last of the piano beats. All right. So we are here. So a very good morning, good
Mhm.
afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. Thank you for joining us and welcome. Very warm welcome. This is the Focus on SkiaSharp 4 event. So let
Yep.
me pull up my screen here and we can get started. Okay. So this is a big deal, Javier. This is years and years of engineering work, bundled up all into a release. This is SkiaSharp 4.0. We have a lot to unpack, and if you're a .NET developer and you are wanting to take your apps cross-platform, this is the place to be because you're going to hear all about what SkiaSharp can do for you with cross-platform rendering across web, desktop, mobile, all of the devices. So if you're a .NET developer and you're wanting to make cross-platform apps, you're in the right place, right?
Yeah.
So let's get started. So let's see, where's my mouse? Okay, so this event and the SkiaSharp 4 release, it's all being
Mhm.
brought to you by the wonderful folks at Microsoft and Uno Platform. There's been a lot of collaboration, a lot of very cool things happening to make this release where we are standing today, and also what the future holds, like how are
Mhm.
things shaping up for the future. So very, very exciting stuff, and we are delighted to have you here. So let's set the stage for the day. We do have a pretty packed agenda for the next 3 hours. It's like 11 a.m. Eastern time for me, where I'm in the America's East Coast, but we actually have speakers from all over the world today.
Right.
But let's introduce ourselves first. You're going to see and hear me and Javier all through the day. We are your hosts. So Javier, my friend, please introduce yourself. Do I hear you?
Sorry about that. I clicked
Yeah.
on the one of the tabs, and I was hearing you like 3 seconds behind because I had the audio. My name is Javier Lozano. I am a .NET MVP. I also co-created .NET Conf, which is the big launch event for .NET Conf. So that's how we got to know each other. Well, before that, we knew each other, and I love hosting. I love hearing about new technology. And the thing I love about SkiaSharp is that it's not just cross-platform from the perspective of operating systems, but I could also use it on the web, which is pretty nuts. I mean, if you think about it, it's great that it has that ability to be able to reuse across multiple code bases, right? Because code bases for desktop and mobile are completely different. Then it might be similar code, similar language, but the runtime and the execution is different, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm Sam Basu. I'm a developer advocate here at Uno Platform. So I think Javier and me have seen things. We are both a little old, and we remember the times in .NET prior to SkiaSharp and how difficult drawing and everything cross-platform was.
Yes.
So we are in a good place, people. This is a wonderful time.
GDI, anybody?
I'm sure we'll start there. We'll talk about that a little bit. But here's the agenda for the day here, folks. So me and Javier are starting things off. We have quite the lineup, quite the rockstar lineup today. So we are going to bring on Jonathan Dick from Microsoft, and Francois Tanguay from Uno Platform was going to be there, but he had an emergency, vet appointment. So I'm going to fill in on the Uno Platform side. But John is essentially going to set the stage, right? If you're a .NET developer and you're looking to have cross-platform rendering, where does SkiaSharp fit? Like, how did we get here? And what's the future like? Where is SkiaSharp being used today? And what can you essentially do with it? So John's going to essentially set the stage for the rest of the day. Then we essentially have what's the keynote. So that is going to be our cherished engineering leads coming on. Matt Leibowitz is going to come on along with Martin Zickman. Martin is from Uno Platform. Matt's Microsoft. We are all working on this together to bring you the very best of SkiaSharp. So they're going to unpack everything that's in this release, and it's a big one because it's bundling up a lot of those preview changes, smaller releases into one big thing. And they're also going to talk about what the cadence is going to look like going forward with Google and Skia releasing things, and what does this mean for your .NET apps. So again, that's going to be a whole packed hour unpacking everything that's in SkiaSharp 4.0. Next, we have Michael Stonis. Javier, do you know Michael?
I do not. I have not met him.
Oh, you're gonna love him. Yeah, because what Michael does is he takes you down to the basics. Like he makes the complex simple.
Oh,
So
nice.
if you are looking at all of this and going, oh wow, this is very complicated. How can I, as a .NET developer, build a simple user control? I just want to make some UI. Well,
Right.
Michael is going to break it down and show you down from the basics, from scratch, how do you build up UI with SkiaSharp. So that's going to be a nice foundation to kind of lay. But then I'm super excited for Colin Whitlatch coming on. So Colin is CTO of Kahua. He's one of our biggest customers at Uno Platform, and he's going to blow your mind with what's possible with SkiaSharp.
Awesome.
We are at conferences sometimes, and people ask us like, "Hey, can I do this with SkiaSharp? Is it mature enough?" Well, take a look at some of the apps and games that Colin is going to show you off, and I'm pretty sure he can't say this, but he has customers which are government agencies all around the world, including the U.S. federal agencies. So if that type of a busy app and the stress of those apps, if that's powering or working with SkiaSharp, pretty sure it will work for your enterprise apps too. The last session of the day is where we go a little bit off the hook, right? So we're going to bring back Martin Zygmunt, engineering lead from Uno Platform, and Jeremy Sinclair. He's loved in the .NET community, loves Windows on ARM. So they're going to get together and show you some pretty crazy things. Again, games from the 80s and 90s that are brought over and working beautifully with SkiaSharp. And to your point, Javier, in the browser, which is amazing. And I'll try to show off some experimental things as well. So that's going to be a really fun 1 hour. And hopefully you take this all in. And Javier and me are going to come back towards the end. We'll stay on all through, ask plenty of questions. But there are some prizes to be had. There are some licenses to be grabbed. So fire away your questions anywhere you're watching this, on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, Twitch, all the places. So fire away questions. We'll highlight them for the speakers for them to answer. Yeah. So Javier, before we start, where are you calling in from?
I'm coming from Central U.S., so I'm Central Time. I'm the state of Iowa, so it's great because like you and I, literally an hour. Well, not more than an hour away, but it's just time zone wise, it's only an hour. So.
Yes, and I'm East Coast, Pennsylvania in the U.S., but we had people chiming in the chat before we started. I saw Ireland, I saw Turkey, I saw Minneapolis, so England, all over the place. So please keep telling us where you're joining from. And we actually have speakers from 5 different time zones as well. So, the magic of tech, right? Okay, so that's it. Let's get into it. Let's get into what you are all here to hear, and that is SkiaSharp. What does all of this mean for .NET developers? So let me see if I can get Mr. Jonathan Dick up. And there you are, sir.
Hey, there he is.
Put you up top here. Okay, so Jonathan Dick, you all probably know and love him, but for those of you who don't, please introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, I'm Jonathan. I am the .NET MAUI engineering lead, and so I work with my wonderful team, including Matthew, who I've actually worked with for a long, long time, and have seen SkiaSharp, start out from this, pretty simple initial library and grow into what it has today. And I'm actually kind of looking at you from across the pond here in Canada, so we're not starting, too far away geography-wise, right? Sam, I know we've talked about where you've lived in the past too, right? Kind of just across the lake, and so it's kind of fun. My trivia for everybody is always that I actually have to drive a little bit north to get to Detroit, where I live, and that kind of boggles everyone's mind. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Geographies are fun. Like I live by a big lake, so I can actually get into Canadian waters in like half an hour if I'm on a boat. But it takes me like 7 to 8 hours of driving to get to Philly, which is on the other side of my state.
Yeah.
So fun times. And hey, the World Cup soccer is going on, so congratulations, Canada, and everybody else who's slowly starting to make their way into the top 16. So good stuff.
And actually, the goal scorer of the Canadian match is actually from my hometown here in Leamington.
Yeah.
So
cool!
Too. Yeah,
very awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of soccer, Brazil just went in. So that's Yuri from our side. Yuri, hello, and there's Matt. There's the man of the hour. Where is my commenting thing. There is Matt. Okay, so
Yeah,
we're going to bring Matt
sorry,
on in
Matthew.
just a bit. Yeah, but let's actually have you, John, walk us through a little bit here. So I'm going to ask you a few questions here. First
Sure.
up, tell us about .NET, because this is not your old school .NET anymore. It's
It's not.
cross-platform, it's modular. So tell us how you see .NET today.
You know, I started getting into .NET back in the early days of Mono, and when .NET Framework, it wasn't something that ran anywhere else except Windows, right? Windows Server, Windows Desktop, and you know, I remember I had this weird obsession of trying to get Mono to run everywhere and run ASP.NET on Linux machines and stuff as a university kid, and it's really evolved into something that truthfully just runs like everywhere you can possibly imagine now. So it's been really interesting to see that shift as I've gone from somebody in the community using .NET and somebody early in the community with the Mono Touch and Mono for Android days, going into Xamarin and seeing all of that work happen and enable .NET to run in new spaces as the whole mobile space emerged, right? And it's since become obviously, just something that you can count on. Like any platform you want to target, it's there for you. As we are moving to a world where Core CLR is the runtime everywhere as well in .NET for mobile platforms, right? It's kind of that full circle, happening at this point now, where the runtime and everything is truly the same .NET wherever you go.
Yeah, well said. Now, what I also like is I have flexibility as a developer. Like I do have a Windows box under my desk here, but I am on a Mac as my daily driver most of the time. Tooling is great, works the same pretty much everywhere. Sure, Visual Studio and VS Code are slightly different animals, but before agentic workflows and before the agents came and made the terminal cool, I was using CLI. I think a lot of you were as well. So it's nice and consistent everywhere. Ecosystem is great and rich. So what's not to like about modern .NET?
Yeah, exactly.
So SkiaSharp, right? So given all of the richness that .NET has, I'm wondering, John, why does .NET need SkiaSharp in the first place?
So I mentioned, the early days of .NET being more of a Windows, centric thing, right? And that certainly has continued to be true in sort of the grassroots and like progression of the platform. And so, and actually, if you go to the next slide already, I think is the one that calls this out kind of well.
I want to just talk through the progression here.
Yeah. So, I mean, early days, like, of course, we have things like WinForms, we have WPF, and those are ways to create applications that have a GUI and, they run on Windows, right? But there's always really been a need, even within those frameworks, to be able to draw custom things. So if at the end of the day, I want to, articulate some really custom thing, I'm going to probably want a drawing API to do it. And so, Javier, you mentioned, you're joking about GDI early on too, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, we started out there with these APIs that were, not bad. They did the job, but they were, again, fairly Windows centric. And so as we progressed to a world where Mono was working on things like, iOS devices, when that was kind of just a new young sector of the market, we really had to think about, well, how do we either bring these APIs over, and then how do we render, how do we back them? How do we render them? Or better yet, how do we do something that's not, just bound to the sort of lowest common denominator of what these APIs look like, the kind of Windows centric or, quirks here and there that are specific to that platform and don't really translate well to other platforms. And so this was, back in the day, early on, I believe actually Miguel de Casa really kind of started the idea, which was, what if we take this library that Google makes to power a bunch of their platforms that powered Android, powered their Chromium web engine at the time. What if we take that and we make it accessible for .NET developers? And because it's something that runs on all these platforms already, we can feasibly make it work everywhere that .NET does. And so that was really the catalyst of building this thing in the first place, was having a truly cross-platform drawing, rendering API that would enable .NET developers to do the drawing wherever they can now do the .NET.
Yeah. So it's a perfect gap that SkiaSharp is filling in. And I also like what you said here, like consistency of UI rendering. You don't want that whole differences in platform and browsers and devices anymore. You want that to be consistent, right?
Well, you also have APIs as well, John, right? So like the way I would interact with this API, even though in the same, like let's pick on Windows, like the way I would interact with GDI Plus on Windows is completely different than interact with DirectX on Windows.
Exactly.
Even though it's the same OS, it's just different methods, different pipelines, and different messaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dive into this a little bit more. So tell us where SkiaSharp is and what it does.
So yeah, it's easy. SkiaSharp is everywhere. Quite literally, like one of the things that I've really enjoyed seeing Matthew work on this, and you'll get to know him more in a little bit. But Matthew has really been for a long period of time the kind of soul and heart of this project, and he has done spent years working on this thing alongside other contributors. I know that Uno's been involved for a long time as well, helping get to more platforms and with some of the things like Wasm. But it really does run everywhere, and I think that the pixel perfect, the pixel consistency, as you mentioned, Javier, like that's important too.
Right.
But it's that with also the different GPU implementations, and knowing that you have a high performance library here that was going to run wherever you put it, but like also is going to use the hardware wherever you put it too.
Right.
So that I'm not going to get into the details here. Leave that to the experts. But it supports all different sorts of backends and rendering engines and stuff, and so you're going to have a fast option to get the exact result that you want, no matter where you are.
Yeah, and it's battle tested. Like look at the stuff here on the right, like Chromium engine, like that's all SkiaSharp. So
so all your
Android and Flutter.
browsers.
Yeah, it's a big
and
Flutter.
Area. I know Flutter's kind of trying some different directions and stuff too, but like the real the reality is that they started with Skia, and any changes they're kind of making are more optimizing around their specific use cases. But we see Flutter still everywhere, including Android, and so it's not going anywhere. It's we see Skia everywhere, not Flutter everywhere. we do see Flutter on Android too, but the fact that Android itself is still using Skia under the hood, I think speaks volumes. So.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it too, with like something like you mentioned about Android using it, right? And even when like say I mentioned he's on a Mac, right? Remember Intel Macs were great because they're running everything else, but they were totally different GPU. Yeah. Now we're in ARM GPUs, right? Of everything. So it's like to not even have to worry about that from a developer perspective is huge, right? Exactly. I just know that the library handles it and it's optimized for what it needs to do. Now it might be rendered slowly or differently because the hardware that you have, but that's literally as having a 4-cylinder engine as compared to an 8-cylinder engine that you have with your vehicle. But it's not the libraries thing, it's just whatever the engine is behind it.
Yeah, and I think we'll use hardware acceleration wherever possible. So
yes, exactly.
This is where SkiaSharp is. But John, let's talk about what .NET platforms can actually, or developer platforms can leverage SkiaSharp. So Maui, this is what you do day in and day out. This is your team. .NET Maui takes your .NET apps to mobile and desktop. So tell us about the difference in some of the UI rendering stacks in .NET Maui.
Yeah, so Maui itself is, the philosophy since it started as Xamarin Forms was always really, we want to provide an abstraction over like the native UI, right? And so that's a great place for the foundation of applications and stuff. But there's always, again, just like I mentioned in terms of WPF and WinForms, there's always going to be cases where you also want to do more of your own custom drawing and rendering. And so, we recognize that. We actually built an abstraction layer for doing that drawing in Maui called Maui Graphics. And the goal there was really to say, hey, we want to give you a fairly simple API to use, and we're going to use the drawing engine that's specific to whatever platform that you're on, just like we do in terms of the UI buttons and controls and stuff like we do in Maui today. But the interesting part is, like, while we were designing this, we always had the goal in mind and did this from the start of also allowing you to plug SkiaSharp into that API as a backend as well. So you kind of got the choice of, do I want pixel near perfect, or do I actually want pixel perfect? And depending on your use case, there you might want one over the other in terms of keeping your distribution size really low and using the native thing, and you don't really care, or maybe you're rendering something like barcodes and you need it to be exactly perfect, so you want that SkiaSharp experience. The other part where we use SkiaSharp actually in Maui itself too, is the sort of build time of it, right? So you give us images and assets and things, and we can render your app icons for you with the different layers that you can achieve with, how Android does it with like foreground and background. iOS does something similar. So we can kind of take all that in and compose it, write out the right assets for your app, give you all the right resolutions and pixel densities of the images that you want in there. And so we do a lot of that work with SkiaSharp at build time as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that's with .NET MAUI. So why do you think SkiaSharp is important for the rest of the .NET ecosystem?
Yeah, no, again, Maui is an option. I think we are all arriving more and more at the point where we're trying to serve the entire ecosystem together, provide different options. Every use case is different. Customers have different needs. And so the more variety, the more selection that you have, obviously is better. And we have a lot of vendors that are using SkiaSharp that use it to create their different custom controls and charts and stuff like that. We have customers who are doing stuff on the server side. I can't mention any names, but imagine somebody with Linux containers that are generating millions of images in those containers on the server side. So nothing really GUI, but they're still using SkiaSharp on the back end. You've mentioned WASM, Blazor too. And just the fact that .NET's everywhere, but then we also, have SkiaSharp powering things like the Uno platform. So again, more choice for customers, more abilities to kind of get to where they want to be, however they want to do that.
Yeah, well said. So speaking of Uno platform, I'm going to take the next couple of slides and maybe set the stage here. So this is all .NET, and this is foundationally our stack. You can nowadays with AI, you see a lot of apps being created fast, but are they really maintainable? Do they have a solid backing? So this is the open source Uno platform stack. It is all .NET, and we take you to iOS, Android, web browsers, all of the desktops, and embedded systems. This has been there forever and will always be there. But on top of it, we have built up Uno Platform Studio. This is a suite of AI and design tools, essentially meant to augment your productivity as a developer. So you have things like a design surface while you're building your app, while your app is running. With hot reload, we can sync the changes back. We have nice design to code workflows. If you are in Figma or Pencil, we can bring things over. If you're using any sort of AI, we are trying to be agnostic. So we have MCP tools written with the .NET and C# SDKs. So the MCP tools keep your AI agents grounded in the docs, and they can also have eyes and hands, so they can interact with your app while your app is running. So you get to essentially validate what AI is doing for you. And we think about the whole life cycle. It's not a one-time thing, right? That you're building your apps, you're coming in at different stages. So how do you get started? How do you get set up in your dev environment? How do you develop efficiently? Do you have the right tools to run your apps on all of the devices? Do you verify with MCPs all the way down to deployment and CI/CD? We think about the whole lifestyle and the life cycle of apps. So now, excuse me, this may be something you guys have noticed of late. We have just released Uno Platform Studio 3.0. This is us kind of taking the studio experience to the next generation for agentic workflows. So there's a studio app that's meant to run on web, desktop, and mobile. There's a specialized agent that's very good at building Uno platform apps. So we give it all the context that AI agents need, and you can use it with Copilot or Claude or Cursor or any of the agents, right? So when you're using agentic workflows, you want to make sure that they have skills, so they fall into a bit of success. They have MCP tools, so they have, they can run the loops, they can validate their own work. So we're essentially trying to make it very easy for people to build cross-platform apps. Sure, you have to install things local, but if you just want to start from a browser, we can spin up a whole .NET app right in your browser, right? So, and again, everything that you see, all of the app UI, that's all SkiaSharp, right? So that's where we are at. So SkiaSharp is, fundamental to what we do. So no matter how much you see us doing, high-level agentic stuff, right? We are doing previews so you can test your app UI in isolation. We are doing snippets so you can do drag and drop. We have, agents and MCPs and skills. But at the end of the day, what your user sees, every bit of that app UI is SkiaSharp. So that's why it is so, foundational and fundamental to us. So with that said, I think, John, we are ready to look at where we stand with SkiaSharp. I think we have hyped it up quite a bit, right? Yeah. So, John, how do you, last question before maybe we let you go is, how do you see the future of cross-platform rendering with .NET?
Yeah, I mean, I think SkiaSharp is, obviously stood the test of time. I think I didn't verify this, but I believe we may even be at like the 10-year mark in terms of how long it's been being worked on. And so as we move forward, we're making obviously some partnerships and collaborating more and bigger commitments to ensuring that this thing kind of has the right level of attention and care that it needs to live on, and not just live on, but really prosper and be something that developers can use and rely on. And so going forward, it's really a story of trying to make sure that we we keep things going, we update quickly, and we have a really solid offering for developers to depend on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And John, thank you so much for your time. I know you're running a big team. You're busy throughout the day, but thank you for taking the time to come and set the stage here for us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So what is next? What is happening with SkiaSharp? So at this point, John, we're going to say goodbye to you and bring on the man of the hour. Let's see.
The one, the only.
The one and the only. There he is, Matt.
Hello. You're talking so nice about me, making me cry. All I want is,
And actually, there is one more rock star that we should bring on stage. Martin, if you're ready.
I'm ready. Hello.
There is Martin.
Hello, everybody.
All right. So, people, this is it. This is where you get to hear from the engineers and the engineering leads and the architects and the big thinkers to say, what's going on with SkiaSharp? What's in this release? Where are we headed next? But before we start, though, Matt, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hello. Hopefully, I don't have to introduce myself. I'm just Matthew. I'm the guy that that does some SkiaSharp stuff when I can, and the only thing that makes me continue is the cool stuff that I see everyone else making. So for me, it's like, oh, look at my little boy growing up, or something, doing more. So yeah, I work in Microsoft, and I started. I did lots of stuff at Xamarin Times, but yeah, I worked on Xamarin Forms. Now I'm working on .NET Maui, and part of .NET Maui is the SkiaSharp sort of stuff I do. So yeah, I do a bit of everything.
Absolutely, and we love you for all that you do. And Martin, you go next.
Yeah, hello everybody. And my name is Martin Zygmunt. I'm doing the Uno Platform core engineering. So I'm kind of the engineering lead on Uno Platform framework itself, the underlying part that runs all the things, all the cool things on top of it, including the Uno Platform AI extensions and Studio Live and so on. So everything that's broken in the framework goes on me.
You fix a lot of things as well. So we, love you both for all that you do. And actually, while you all are speaking, like I am loving seeing the chatter and the chat.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
So many of our old friends, the usual suspects, are all here. So let's get in. Let's talk about what's in this here. So SkiaSharp 4, right? Drum rolls, right? All the things. We are here. So if you head out to the Microsoft blogs as of yesterday evening and the Uno Platform blogs, you can see the blog post out. SkiaSharp 4.0 is out, but there's a lot going on. There's a milestone 148, which is the stable release. But then, Matt, you're already looking ahead with the preview for what's next. So that's a lot to unpack. So let's get in here. So some broad strokes in SkiaSharp 4.0. So I will let the two of you talk through this, but we're talking about a better engine, better APIs, better stability, co-maintenance all around. So Matt, you go.
Yeah. The SkiaSharp 4.0, right? There's no, there's no brand new knobs. There are many knobs to that have been added, but like the real thing has been, I think I'm embarrassed to say, about 3 years of development in Skia that I haven't actually, updated to. And so you're not getting a better engine. You're getting a much, much, much better engine. We're talking 3 years of stuff. And it's all the improvements that you've seen in your browsers and your, applications that use it have all, been secretly hiding out and waiting to come out into the world. And with this opportunity of this massive increase, you've decided, hey, how can we clean up the APIs? I have hated hurting any customer that uses any API. So I like backwards compatibility, everything, every API from version 1 probably still exists. So I took the opportunity again to just totally clean up and say, like, this one's been obsolete for 3-4 years. It's time to go. I'm sorry, no one should be using it. That has been, this is the new engine. We've got a bunch of new capabilities, which we'll talk about, and it's about cleaning up and allowing us to move faster, because we have to, with the security mindset. We have to be moving faster, and Google's already moving to, like, we're branching every 2 weeks. We're shipping, a stable version every 3 weeks, I think now, like stable. So that it's like, if we can't keep up with that, then we're not being secure. So it's all about, slimming down and joining with the Uno platform folks to work, so we can almost work in parallel, and making sure that the work we do, like, works in a real application and not just, oh, it works on Matthew's little test bed. So all of this stuff comes together and basically sort of appears as a SkiaSharp 4. It's new things, it's better things, it's improved things, and more efficient things, both the engine and the workflows. So it's really, really cool to be able to talk about this.
So it's a lot packed into one. And so Martin, let me turn to you. We have a lot of stake in SkiaSharp. Like, that's the entire Uno platform, consistent UI rendering, that's all SkiaSharp. So there are a lot of folks internally who have worked on this, like Ramez and Ellie from our side. But what does this maintenance model mean for you, Martin?
I mean, the great thing is that now that we are helping to with the maintenance of SkiaSharp, we can bring new features for Uno platform customers faster and improve things that our customers are facing if they hit some issues. So that's a very helpful thing. And this huge jump that version 4 brings is super helpful, because it allows us to make everything better. And that's not just the things that we get for free by just updating to the latest version, but also we can now update to the latest APIs. We can improve performance of our existing code by upgrading to the new APIs and so on. So there's going to be a huge help to all our customers, and we really value it. And I mean, the fact is that we are now SkiaSharp rendering first. So we are defaulting new applications to SkiaSharp rendering, and you can definitely see that as compared to the native rendering, it just makes everything better, because all the applications look exactly the same everywhere. And that kind of keeps up with the promise that you get pixel perfect rendering on all platforms without you having to do any changes. And that's only possible thanks to SkiaSharp.
Yeah, well said. So all of this is catering to increased developer productivity and confidence. Let's dive in a little bit more. You have mentioned quite a few things here, Matt, but let's have you kind of run down some of the bigger changes that have made it into this release.
Okay, as I mentioned before, it's a brand new engine, and we're trying to clean up with a new API, and we're also helping you as a developer, with the APIs, making sure our obsolete warnings and stuff, right? Just make your life better as a developer using SkiaSharp. But and I think if I look at this list, the things like the variable font and the color palette support, that was Ramez, who works at Uno. He threw a few PRs. He was like, "Oh, I found this dusty branch. Let me dust it off for you." Actually, well, before we talk about that dusty branch, we should talk about the fact that Ramez actually did most of the work to bring the latest version. He did a couple of bumps. I think it was like 133. He did that as a trial run. This is a big thing. We need to do it. And while he was doing that, I was trying to improve the review workflow. And then I was like, okay, cool. It's time for the next big jump. We're going to 147. And then with all the work we did together to get 133 merged, it was like much easier and quicker to get this even bigger jump as well. So thanks to the Uno team, or specifically thanks to Ramez, I don't know what he did. I know he worked late as well for doing all of this. I was like, I expect the PR with everything, please. And he delivered that. So the big number jump you see is all thanks to Ramez, and that really opens the gateway with all the new features. And the version we were on had some features, but they were like experimental back in the day, and they were incomplete. So things like the color palette and variable font support, that I don't think was possible in the old version. So he brought that forward with his dusty PR, and totally reworked that. So now and you'll see later in the demos, it's super easy, super simple API. And that's just all because we updated to this massive one. We just sort of unlock these new features that if you are building, let's say, a UI rendering framework, I don't know, maybe some sort of cross-platform Uno type, one, you might want to render bold font. There is that feature you might want. Well, this allows you to get that and use some cool new modern fonts. So that's really cool. And some of the cool things as well that were added, was like the animated WebP. So you're not forced to make GIFs or GIFs depending on how you roll. WebP is out there as well, and a whole bunch of other stuff that we're going to see later. It's all brought about. And this, I'm gonna throw out the word graphite, which we're going to talk about later. It's not possible in the older versions. It wouldn't even be possible, I think, like before, like 130, 140 time frame. But I'll talk about more of that later. But that's only possible due to this massive bump, and that thing is a wonderful, exciting thing coming soon. So.
Yeah. So a lot of things in here. So I'm going to pull up a chat here. Let's see. So now we're getting into technicalities of exactly what a backend is. What's Vulkan? What's graphite? What's all of this stuff? So I'm sure, Matt, you're going to show us. But tell us a little bit about the importance of 148 and then what's 150, because now you're already saying it's, preview 2 is out.
I technically want to do a RC, but I thought, I didn't want to make everyone update their slides. So I'm waiting after it. I'm going to probably push an RC out. But yeah, so what was the question again?
So what's the importance of these numbers, like 148? Do they align with something with Skia?
Oh, yes. So technically Skia is just a bunch of code that Google wrote, and it sits in a folder or in a separate repo now. And that was just a part of Chromium. They released Chromium. So if you look at your browser now, I think it's 148 or 149 is your current Chrome version, your Chrome or your Edge. And that is just the milestone they use, sort of the iterative number. And they're like, well, when we branch Chrome, we branch Skia. So that is where that number comes from. The first number is an arbitrary number I make up to tell you big things are happening, and also to be cool. The second number is directly tied to the Chromium release, and obviously we want to be on the latest. So as of today, I think 148 is about to go old. I think we've got a month left, but the new one's already here. And as I mentioned, right now we're still on a 4-week release cycle, but we're moving to a 2-week. So this number is going to rapidly change, and that just helps you to understand, to find out which version of the Chromium you're working with, and obviously stick to the latest, because that's where all the new features and security fixes go.
Yeah. So again, for SkiaSharp, these are NuGet packages, so you can go get these right now as we speak. So let's dive a little bit more. Matt or Martin, do either of you want to share screen and show us some stuff?
I can share my screen, and we just
Which
walk
one
through some.
shall I bring up? Okay, so Matt's screen. Okay, so let me do that. Oh, it's asking me to stop sharing mine. It's fine. And where is Matt's? Okay, there, you're up.
All right. Let's make sure I can see that screen. Okay, so SkiaSharp is a bunch of new stuff. So I thought, hey, we need a new website. So for those of you who lived in the past, I am no HTML JavaScript guy, but with the power of AI, I have a wonderful website. Thank you, Claude, I think, did this. So I thought, hey, let's have a look at some of the new features we saw a bit. So we can head over to our release notes page, and this is where you can go to find out all the stuff. And I'm trying to be as sort of on top of things as possible, and we'll talk about how I do that in a second. But basically, you can go view your version, say, hey, this is what was in this release, as one does with any release notes, and you can also look at what's coming next soon. So these release notes are a tiny bit out of date because I am still testing the AI release note writer. So I need some fodder for it. So you can come over here and check out the new stuff, but and we head out to 148. This was the stuff that was in the slide. You can see all the bug fixes, some new APIs, WebP is a variable font, and things like that. But with 150, we've got even some cool new things happening that are not here now. Oh, here's some more. Some new APIs. These are not like groundbreaking, shake the world, but these are cool new things that we can now do with a faster development cycle. Is I can tell AI, we need this thing bound, I can work with it, and we can get a couple new APIs. And these take like, I think take about a day or less to do nowadays. Because binding SkiaSharp is ironically easy. It's just very hard to do manually. So you can come over here and learn out some more, and this sort of can be your place where I'm trying to make sure that I can communicate with the world of how things are going to be moving. So at the root of release notes, this is where we can talk about the higher speed of releases. So this not really comes with SkiaSharp, but it comes with the new world that we live in. Skia is moving faster, Google's moving faster, so we obviously need to move faster. But basically, you can find out this is how we're planning on do our releases. Basically, within a month, you should get a new version every 3 weeks. Should be a Popman out in Nougat. With a maintenance support, they do have every release goes into extended support. So technically, you have 2 months of support for a particular milestone version. So 4.148 we're at the end of the support, but 150 will have 2 months, and 151 will have 2 months of support. That's what Google does. So as long as Google supports it, then we can support it, and you can find out, more things over here as well. So this is just, admin page, and so let's have a look now at the gallery, right? So I want to show off some cool new things, and we'll walk through it together. So, for example, here's a simple one with a crop filter. This is this can be done before. So if anyone's using cropping, this is just an example of a pretty small sort of API that enables very cool and easy ways to do things. I don't actually have the code here that you can't see, but basically it's very easy. This is like one line to say, hey, crop images, and you can use this with cropping and trimming and all of that in your things. And here are some cool features like debugging to check overdraw, which is very important if you're building a framework. Like, can you see how many times a pixel has been touched and things like that? And there's some cool features. This one was a nice one. So yeah, right. We've got a whole bunch of new features. Oh, this is what I'm looking for. There we go. The variable font. For those who do variable font, we can have a little slider, and ignore the jiggle. That's because this is not a shaped demo. It's just text. But basically, you've got cool things like this, and I believe there's a color as well. If I search for color fonts, here we go. And here, for example, is a font, and you can have colors in there. So this just basically shows off that, hey, we're getting some cool new features with SkiaSharp. Okay, so there it is. It appeared. It finally appeared. So one of the things that I also wanted to show off as sort of new with the SkiaSharp is that we are trying to build obviously far more rapidly than is almost humanly possible. We can't have one guy or two guys, keeping up with a 2-week release cycle, as well as, adding new features. So we've been leveraging AI, and basically we have an automated pipeline, not fully automated. It still requires a human to review that AI does it right, but it's a workflow that every day it will trigger off. Have there been new versions? Have there been security fixes? It will merge, it will patch, it will make sure everything's running, run some tests, and then basically open a PR, and we can merge that. And this is very critical for helping us deliver the security fixes you want more rapidly. And if you're building entire applications, you obviously want your application to be secure. So this is almost the only way to be able to do this. And of course, once that merges, we kick off other AI agents to write API diffs, to write, docs and stuff like that. So this will allow you to basically get more things more rapidly. Instead of me sitting writing docs and writing API diffs and stuff like that, it is now fully automated. So yeah, I'm looking for the homepage. So let's just show off some actual. So obviously I showed the gallery. That was the Blazor gallery. This is one of the cool things about having SkiaSharp, is that because it runs everywhere, this is running WebAssembly in a Blazor. So this is HTML, as you know and love. But Ramez went ahead and decided, you know what, we can't just have, plain HTML. Come on, load for me. Be impressed. And there we go. Here is an equivalent. Obviously, it's not as cool looking as mine because I have told AI to work really hard. And this just shows that, this is, I believe, a full. This is crazy because this is a full SkiaSharp rendering that's running SkiaSharp controls inside. So if you've got a Skia Uno app, it's running Skia. And of course, I have a Skia canvas in here, which is some sort of double loading. And let's go to the.
Actually, to make it even more fun, it's actually SkiaSharp rendering WinUI layout that's rendered using the SkiaSharp, and is also embedding SkiaSharp inside of it. So it's kind of Inception-like.
Yeah, it's like a SkiaSharp canvas with a WinUI that's rendering, and then inside, it's too many layers. It's too many layers. But yeah, it's definitely very cool. And here's obviously for example, we've got some cool animated stuff. This is obviously testing quality. But yeah, I mean, this is a glowing text. This is rendering. I believe I can also show some pretty cool. You know what? Let's actually show off some other cool stuff. So thanks to Ramez, I cracked a joke when we were doing like, oh, come on, you need to build a fiddle. I didn't have anyone know that fiddle, like JS fiddle and stuff like that. If like I want to, I just want to type in the text box and see my application running live, just recompile and do it in the browser. And he was like, nah, it's probably going to take time. I was like, yeah, just go ahead and ask Claude to do it. So here we have so this is even more craziness. So this is a Skia canvas running an Uno app, right? So this is Uno text and Uno drop downs. But over here, just like you could do with, Blazor and embed a native control, this is I don't know if you know the name of this control. I forget. It's totally.
It's Monaco.
Monaco, yes. So this is a Monaco editor, which I believe is HTML, right? So
yeah,
HTML inside a Skia canvas of an Uno app, and on the right-hand side, we've got the 60 frames a second rendering. And very cool things that we can do, showing off some SkiaSharp stuff, is here we have this text box a little bit small. Here is actually a shader language, which is it's sort of modeled after the GL shader language, the GLSL, but they've gone ahead and they've made it more 2D rendering features, and I think it's mostly compliant, but they've added some features specifically because of canvas-y things. So we've got a string here that represents you, and this is not just like some weird demo that's hacked. In your app today, you can totally write your own custom shaders to render, how you want. So here's a bit of a shader, and this is the code that runs in a loop, and you get pictures like this. And this is really, really cool that it enables almost impossible things that you wouldn't have. You're like, oh, I'm going to write some code to do this. That's going to be really hard and really poor performance. Whereas using a shade language, you're actually modifying pixels as they render. So this is extremely powerful. And as you can see right here, we have high performance. We have basically all the technologies jammed into one window, and it is truly cool. And this, as I say, this like SkiaSharp is great. Wow, that's amazing. And then I see the things people make with it, and I sit there and like, yeah, this is why I'm going to go back to doing some more, right? And performance is great, and yeah, this stuff here is just a cool animation of stuff. So this is all powered by SkiaSharp. As you can see, this fully thing is SkiaSharp, and it runs anywhere. It runs on your Android phones, obviously, because Uno supports that Linux, and I think goes all back to Windows 10. Or do you Windows XP at all? Is that on the cards for Uno platform?
I don't think we support XP anymore.
Okay, yeah. So this particular release, does not have that many great new features, as in like, we've got a couple of them, like the color and the fonts, but it was more designed, can we get everything ready to go? And we can see that by the fact that not only do we have to have a high-speed release, that I can release weekly now, and I've got AI skills. So I have, if you're interested in how I do some stuff, which really has helped, this would have been impossible without AI doing the heavy lifting. I have a bunch of skills that are relevant. For example, here is my release note skill batch. It's all in the GitHub repo. I can just say, I want to do a branch now. Okay, let's push it out. Let's do some testing on that artifacts. And I just sit and wait, and I don't know, watch YouTube until a NuGet appears. And that allows me, like, I have a release that takes about 4 hours to build, and it takes about 4 hours to release, because I've literally got to wait for the build to finish. It will branch, it will tag, it will release. And that is basically I suppose the real cool new thing about SkiaSharp. So yeah, I don't know, Martin, did you have any specific things that were interesting?
I mean, what we as Uno Platform value is that this brings a lot of new stability that hasn't been there, just because we were so much behind, and now we're up to date. And the nice thing is that those new things like variable fonts rendering and so on, that's something that all customers will benefit, not just Uno Platform, but everyone who is using SkiaSharp. So, this is just a great start to a bright new future of SkiaSharp overall.
Yeah, well said, gents. We are back, Javier and me. Is there any more things you folks want to show? Because otherwise, I had a couple of questions.
Yeah, I can just show for this thing. So I mentioned earlier graphite, and I think John mentioned back in the beginning of like, Skia's got this backends feature, and allows you to pick your hardware. So SkiaSharp, and I just want to sort of a transitional into the future, is you can draw. You get a bunch of memory, and you put colors in those positions, and you've got a picture in memory. Then obviously that's going to be slow on hardware. You've got a GPU, so they've got a bunch of backends, and they've prehistorically had a Ganesh, I believe it is, or am I mixing it up? I forget. It's old. It's Ganesh, and that was Ganesh, using an OpenGL inspired API. So they would use Angle for DirectX. They would use OpenGL, WebGL. But the world has moved on. That's old stuff. So they've gone ahead and said, okay, what is the new world? And that's the Vulkans, the Metals, and the new DirectX 12 APIs, which is very low level, very high performance, parallelized rendering, all that sort of stuff. So they were like, I am going to recreate the backend, right? We are totally scrapping the old way, and we're coming in with a brand new way. And this is a total rewrite of the graphics backend. But the beautiful thing, if I zoom in, right, the first part is new, and this has always been new, right? You want to create, but depending on, you want a memory backend, do you want an OpenGL backend? There's a couple of lines of sort of setup logic, but all your stuff that you're familiar with uses the same canvas, the same surface objects. So your application, let's take Uno, you've got a whole bunch of setup, and then you just start rendering. So if we used to switch with graphite, there would be changes in your code, right? But I'm going to go with 95%. We can tweak that number later after your PR emerges. 95% of the code is going to be unchanged, because that is how Google has structured Skia. And this is really, really amazing, because they've started to finalize the graphite, and let's go with the 130 series of milestones. So right now, this is mature. This is the default for I believe it's Windows and Linux of Chrome. So the new engine is much faster, much more better, and allows for parallelization of rendering and things, and some crazy new things. So this is really cool. It's coming soon. I was hoping to get into the 150 milestone, but that's moving too fast. So I'm going to try for the 151. But yeah, this is thanks to Ramez. He worked countless hours on it, and there's many commits. So yeah, this is really cool, and this is coming, and I'm expecting some major performance improvements without you having to, as a person consuming, say, Uno Platform, or Maui graphics, you shouldn't need to change much of your code. So this is really, really cool. And the performance should be significantly faster than what you have today.
Yeah, very, very cool. A couple of things here, folks, from the chat room, maybe to highlight. The AI workflow, Matt, that you mentioned, that's nice, because I think every one of us is trying to see how best to use AI to better leverage the agents in our workflows. So that's nice to see the cadence, and how you are trying to automate things going forward. Let's see, one more question here. Maybe Martin, do we know if any of the gallery or the fiddle source code is out there?
I think all of it should be open source. If you can show that. Yeah, exactly. So you can find it on the Mono SkiaSharp repository. So all of those things are there. And it should be just clone it locally and build it from source.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, there's plenty of inspiration here. I'm watching the time here a little bit, but maybe we can do like one more question here for you folks. Mark Allen was asking background elements. No, hold on. Let me go back to the first question. Is stuff like this doable where you have like layered controls, 2D, 3D buttons, the background scene comes through? Have you folks seen or done anything like this?
Doesn't Uno do that? I mean, Martin, you can speak to layered controls and 2D and 3D buttons with a background scene. Yeah.
I mean,
are you talking specifically? Okay.
Yeah, like if you're doing it within UI styling and templating engine, you can definitely do layering of various layers on top of each other with transparency and everything. We also have acrylic brush, which allows you to kind of blur the background of elements and get like the blurred version of what's behind. So that is definitely possible. I'm not sure if the question was really specifically for Uno Platform or Skia specifically. Not sure there.
Yeah, it's hard to get context, but overall, like Mark, I think it's very possible what you're asking.
And yeah, basically you are using the same graphics context. You set up an OpenGL context or something, so you can draw on it and you hand off a texture to SkiaSharp and say, you draw on here, and you can render that texture like anything else, right? It's just an off-screen texture. And in this case, this guy is trying to set up a Unity mix and match, and I believe he did it. Obviously, it's not officially supported because I don't know Unity ways, but definitely, right? You're just using an existing context. So yeah, use off-screen textures, off-screen bitmaps, things like that.
Very cool, very cool. And going forward, Martin and Matt, like, can we expect cadence of these stable releases and then previews for what's coming up?
From the SkiaSharp side, yes, that is the goal, to have every week to have a nugget go out. Should be 2 previews, an RC and a stable. That is the hope. It all depends on Google's cadence. Sometimes they delay a release or they push a release ahead for security or performance or whatever reasons. But that's the standard way going forward. I'm hoping to follow that, and every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, depending on the cadence that we are in. There should be a new package, preview, RC, stable. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you for all the work. And I know Chatru and you folks have mentioned quite a few times, Ramesh from our side has been working quite a bit. So thank you to both of you. Thank you to everybody else who contributes to SkiaSharp. We are all in this together. It benefits, the rest of the ecosystem. All right, so I'm going to bring my screen back up. Javier, how are you doing, my friend? Your mind blown yet?
It's pretty interesting to hear of all. Like, again, I'm an old guy, right? So GDI Plus, pipeline, MFC, all ATL, all those awesome things that were just magically handled for you, and it were just literally drag and drop OLED components. All those things. It's great to actually see the evolution of where we started to where we're at now. Yeah. Right, because back then things were a lot simpler. Like, this is before the internet even existed or was mainstream, right? It did exist, but so it's great to see all these things coming together, and the fact that even I, as a backend developer, right, could use SkiaSharp like server for image rendering behind the scenes. I don't have to actually do any UI, anything else. It's just the powerful library that I can leverage and scale horizontally in the cloud, air quotes, right?
Indeed. All right. So that's a look at SkiaSharp 4. People, there's a lot in it. So go read those blog posts from Microsoft and from us. We have tried detailing everything that's in this release. So Matt and Martin, again, thank you for all that you have done. Matt, I know it's kind of late evening for you. I think we saw like Cape Town and other people joining in. So we'll let you go. It looks like you're in your kitchen and the family could use your help. So we'll let you go, but thank you a lot, Matt. So, and Martin, we're going to bring you back in just a bit to talk about more stuff. So let's actually transition. Let's see where you are, Martin. So, Martin, we're going to say wave goodbye to you for now. All right. So where are we? This is a look at SkiaSharp 4. But the question is, this is all Microsoft and Uno Platform guys doing their magic. What can you do? What can real developers like me and Javier, old dogs here, trying new things? What can we do? Can you take us back to the basics and actually show us what's possible? So with that, I am super excited to bring on our next speaker. Michael, you ready? There you are. Can you hear us? Can you see us? And we cannot hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear you.
Maybe.
Let's try now.
Yes.
Hey, perfect.
Looks pretty well.
Awesome. All right. Michael Stonis is here. Michael, go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Yeah. Hey, I'm Mike Stonis. I've been a .NET developer for ever. I don't know, too long now. I've been focusing mostly on mobile and all those kinds of cool things for a bit now. Been doing Maui, been doing Uno development for quite some time, and I am very, very, very into making custom controls and things like that. So whenever it was when Matthew had originally put out the SkiaSharp controls out there, it had solved a huge problem for me. Something I'm super excited about. All these announcements this morning, and especially, I know it's going to maybe sound silly, but the announcements around like the text stuff is very exciting to somebody like me. Any kind of additional like rendering that we get with text, a little bit ease of dealing with some of those things makes my life a lot easier. So yeah, that's me. So today I thought we'd kind of talk about some custom drawing.
Spoken like a nerd, like text rendering is what excites you.
It's one of those things that like, as an outside person, you always think like everything works right. You look at the web, it works. You open up Microsoft Word, it works. How hard can text rendering be? And the answer is it's unbelievably complicated. Anybody who's ever done any kind of custom drawing or rendering, that's like the first thing you're going to hit and know immediately, like it's a nightmare. So it's super exciting to have some updated stuff out there.
Okay, so I think we're running 7 to 8 minutes late. So Michael, why don't you take over, share your screen, and
sounds
we will
good.
let you roll.
All right, let me get this going here.
I see it.
Okay, perfect. So what I thought we would do today is kind of take a look at what goes into drawing and making your own custom controls. So Uno comes out of the box with a ton of custom controls. Obviously, we're XAML based, so we can customize things and do a lot of custom, drawing with the controls that we've got out there. But sometimes you need something like extremely specific, especially nowadays where we've got designers that have great tools like Figma and things like that. What I see a lot of is them building these really cool controls, handing it off to us as a developer and saying like, well, we've already sold it. Business wants this, make this happen. Right. And that's not always the easiest. Fortunately for us, SkiaSharp is the thing that we could use as our like kind of, I don't know, ace in the hole or tool to kind of build all those controls in a pretty easy manner that really wasn't there before. So let's kind of start at the basics here and sort of dig into what it takes to draw something. I've got kind of a little simple demo app over here, and we're just going to try to draw We'll call this kind of a button, a stylized button, or maybe like a stylized text area, and see everything that goes into there. All right, so first thing that we're going to do in order to build this is we want to make use of the SK Canvas element. So this SK Canvas element, really it's just an Uno, it is just a wrapper for our Skia Canvas. The Skia Canvas, if you're not familiar with it, or if you've never done any kind of custom drawing before, a canvas, it's kind of like a canvas. If you think of it like a painting canvas, it just gives you an area to draw pixels on, right? So we are, instead of using a paintbrush, instead of using a pencil, something like that, we're just going to use it as sort of a blank area to draw on. And so everything that we do here for our drawing today is going to be built on that. I've got a little bit of a wrapper around it just to make life a little bit easier for some of the demos that we're going to do today, but don't worry about that too much. For right now, we'll come back to maybe some of this stuff later on. The key thing to take away from here, though, is that we want to use this canvas element, and that's where we're going to do our drawing. Okay. So let's go into here then into our draw scene, and let's take a look at what we need to do our drawing. So I've got a little helper here called render. And what I'm going to get in here for my rendering, is my drawing context. So basically what we could think of that is, it's like information about my area that I can draw. The most common thing you're going to use this context for is applying paint and knowing the size of the area that you can work with. So again, like if we think about it as a real actual canvas, it's like, how big is your canvas? Is it something big? Are you making a large painting? Is it a small painting? Things like that. Inside of there, then, the first thing that you probably want to do is to establish where you're starting your painting. So again, imagine you've got a blank canvas. For anybody who's ever watched like Bob Ross or something like that, a lot of his paintings start off with this thing called titanium white. Seems like you go in there, you'd always go in there, paint the original, paint the canvas down with some titanium white, and then do all of his painting on top of it from there. We then are going to do kind of the same thing, and it's got kind of a dual purpose use for us. So anytime we are drawing or want to do any kind of drawing, we may have had drawing on our canvas before, right? So imagine over time, every time we want to update the thing that we're drawing, maybe we had drawn on there previously. And basically what we want to do a lot of times is kind of like clean off the canvas and start with a blank slate. And so that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to make this call here to clear, and we're going to give it a color. The cool thing about this is that this will be kind of our whole background color that you see here. But if you wanted to, you could also make that transparent. So if you wanted to have unique control buttons that just exist by themselves. If you wanted to do multiple controls that layer on top of each other, having a clear background is kind of a great thing because they can just sort of exist by themselves. In the case for this demo, though, I'm going to be filling up the whole screen, so I'm just going to clear out everything with our background color here. The next thing that we need to do is kind of figure out how and where we're going to draw. And so in this case, I just know that I want to draw sort of a simple rectangle. And so what I want to do is I want to say, what does my canvas look like here? So what's the width of my canvas? What's the height of my canvas that I have out there? And then the hardest part that we have to deal with, honestly, is a little bit of math that we're going to do out here. So what you'll notice is we're going to take that canvas. In this case, I'm going to divide it in half because I'm going to basically say I want to move this node into the center of my screen, or I want to find the center of the screen here. And then our control is going to be 260, or this box here is going to be 260 wide by 110 tall. So I'm going to basically do a little bit of math. Remove 130, so remove half of it here, and then remove that 55 to push it up. So that'll kind of get us, if we think about it, if we went to the center of the screen here, we're going to move halfway over and halfway up and kind of give us a starting point there. So again, if we think about putting our paintbrush onto the canvas, this is where we've just dropped it down. From there, then, we need to figure out how we are going to paint. So inside of here, I have my paint object. And what I'm going to do with my paint object is I'm going to tell it how I want to apply paint to the canvas. So in this case, the first case, at least, we're going to use a solid paint. We're going to give it just a single color out here. Actually, let me just refresh this. I realized probably had this from earlier. There we go. I'm just going to give it a single paint here. You can see we've got just a singular color that we're going to paint out on the screen. It's just this flat color. And that's essentially, again, putting our paintbrush into the paint and preparing it to draw on the screen. From there, then, we just need to actually start to do some drawing. So here, I'm going to draw a rounded rectangle. So where I'm going to, what I need to do to draw that rounded rectangle is choose where I want to draw it. So in this case, you can see the parameter it's going to take in is a rectangle. And a little bit earlier on, we figured out where we wanted to place this. So I've got this node variable here, and it's going to define where my rectangle starts, the width of it, and the height of it from there. So it's going to be my drawing point on that, or my drawing rectangle with that one. We're going to choose our radius. So that's going to be my corner radius. So this is a rounded rectangle. So how big of a radius do we want here? And then finally, my paint. So I'm going to fill that in. Let me actually do something quick here just to kind of help illustrate this a little bit better. I'm going to comment out this code. And because we are on Uno, I could just do this live. Awesome. We're going to repaint here. And now you can see I've just got this one rectangle that I drew on the screen. So really not all that hard. We cleared the screen. We kind of cleared the background on here. We got the place where we wanted to draw this. We set our paintbrush, and then we did some drawing. That's all it took. The hardest part, quite honestly, of all this was just probably figuring out where we wanted to draw on the screen. This is at least for me, this is the part that gets me kind of every time. If we decided we wanted to do something different though, right, we could just go ahead and we can change our paintbrush. So let me just come out here. We'll do some hot reload. And now you might be able to see I've gone from having a solid paintbrush to now having a vertically gradient paintbrush. And with my gradient out here, I've just given it essentially a little bit of a top color and my bottom color. And behind the scenes out here, again, I've just got some stuff just to sort of help with drawing out here and make this a little bit easier, but I'm just basically assigning a gradient with a start and end color. So just a little bit, just a pretty easy change out here. And I can switch from doing just a flat color to a gradient. If I want to change how I'm drawing then as well, we could do that. So let's say, I don't really want to draw a rounded rectangle. Let's do something like a hexagon. We could do that. And I've got a little bit of code down below here. So you can see just a little bit of code, just like we had from up above. But instead of just drawing that rounded rectangle before, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to get a set of points. So I'm going to define my points for my hexagon out there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to draw a path. So a path is a little bit different than just drawing one of our primitives like a rectangle or a rounded rectangle, something like that. With a path, we basically are going to give it each point where we want to move our paintbrush. If you think of it kind of like moving your paintbrush. And then we could also tell it something like close. So essentially, move to all these points. On the last point, just close out that path. But then finally, we're going to do that same thing. We're just going to fill it in. So we're going to use that same sort of paint that we set up there before. So let me set that. We'll change up our paint. And then we'll get this to reload here. And you can see I've already got my hexagon out there. So really easy once you kind of learn the basics of this setup here, sort of what it takes to start drawing and building on top of each other. I'm going to go back to the rounded rectangle. I think this actually looks a little bit better than my hexagon that I had there. It was a good idea, but maybe it didn't look good in implementation. What we do then when we're painting, for the most part, is we kind of start at the bottom of our paint. So if we're drawing stuff on top of each other, we want to start kind of at the bottom of our painting, and we're going to kind of keep on layering on top of it. So in this case, I really want to draw this rounded rectangle, but I want to add a border around it. I think that would look pretty nice for my control. So what you'll see is I'm just going to do that same thing. I'm going to draw another rounded rectangle, the exact same location, the exact same corner radius. But instead of using the paint that I used before, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a new paint called a stroke. So what that's going to do is that's going to follow the outline of my, my shape that I'm looking to draw. I'm going to give it a slightly different color here. I'm going to give it this accent color. and I'm going to tell the stroke. I'm going to tell it the stroke that it's about 2 points wide, right? So it's going to be a 2-point wide border out here. Let's reload again, redraw here. And now I can see I've got that nice kind of blue outline out there, right? All this is pretty easy so far. Pretty straightforward. Again, like I said, the hardest part really is just some of the math that you end up having to do out there. Likewise then, if we wanted to add text in here, we could do any kind of additional rendering that we want out there for text. Text drawing, though, is a little bit interesting, like I had mentioned up front here, and something that is sometimes a little bit more difficult to manage. And so one of the things that you've got to know just with drawing text, and I've got a little helper for us to do this, and I'll just pull this up really quick, is that SkiaSharp is going to draw from the baseline of your text. So you want to kind of think of that as being the bottom of your font out here. So when we draw our text, we want to draw it kind of from our baseline there. But that's sort of the hardest part. Again, I've got this out here. You could use this as a reference for later on. But, in terms of just getting up and running here, we're just going to tell it the same type of thing. We're going to tell it, give it our text that we want to render out there, tell it where we want to have it located for our X and Y. We're going to give it a paint out here. We're going to give it kind of a slightly different paint color. We're going to solidly fill it, give it our font size out here. So we're going to use 26 point, and then tell it how we want to align the text. We're going to tell it to center align. All right, so we'll do that, reload, and that's it. Right. So with all of that, I mean, I'm guessing even with all me talking and explaining all of it, it's only maybe about like 10, 15 minutes worth of time to get up your own custom control like this. All the controls that I've built are basically this, rinse and repeat on top of it, and continue on just getting everything that you want out there. So this is kind of the start of our drawing out here for this. But the next thing I wanted to talk about are just some of the things we want to consider along the way when we're drawing. So this is a pretty easy sample out here, but what if you wanted to draw something a little bit more difficult? So here I've got sort of a scrolling list of rows. You kind of think of it like, I don't know, this would be like a vertical marquee or something like that. And what happens if you need to draw just sort of an infinite amount of items or an incredible amount of items? And this is something I see for people that are looking to do Skia controls. It's commonly an issue because, drawing a simple square like we did in the last time, it's very fixed and very easy. But now when you want to draw sort of an infinite amount of items, how do you do all that at once and how do you keep it together? Well, one of the big things that we've got to keep in mind is how we're actually rendering. So again, because this is not a real physical canvas, it's sort of a virtual canvas, it actually allows us to draw anywhere and everywhere. So we could draw all the way off the screen, above and below it, to left, right of it, everything like that. But that's not terribly efficient, right? Because if we're taking all the time to figure out how to render these items and lay out everything out there, it could end up being kind of slow and just really not performant. So let's go take a look at how we can manage something like that. We'll come to our layout screen here. And again, it's going to follow that same kind of layout that we had from before. The only difference now is, like I was saying, is we want to be able to render out these controls and show them on the screen. And so our little loop that we have here is just kind of like for all these 20,000 items. We're going to want to go through and find those items, basically go see where we're at on the scroll and render those items out on the screen. So we're just drawing that rounded rectangle like we did before and drawing some text. Now, the problem with this is I'm doing that each time this gets updated here. It's at 60 frames per second. So like every 16 milliseconds or so, it's trying to draw out 20,000 items. While it might work good on this machine, I've got, this fancy MacBook Pro. It might not work out well on like an older Android device or a lower powered device out there that doesn't have as good of a graphics card or is kind of a little bit more memory constrained. So when you're drawing your layout items, a big thing to keep in mind is just sort of to draw on the screen itself. So in this case here, I want to make sure that I'm just drawing where I have my area available. and I just want to render out items in view. So really simply here, at least in this case, I know that my items are of a fixed height, so I can guess and do some estimation to say, if my row height here is 28, and if I'm scrolled so many items in, I'm probably going to land at a certain place. And so instead of rendering out everything like we are here, what I'd recommend you do is kind of try to figure out where you're at on the screen, right? So if you've got, all these items scrolled up already, if I'm coming up here to, let's say, like item 300, instead of rendering out everything, let's just go grab that first item and let's figure out like, okay, well, how many items would fit on the screen in between, and just render out those items from there, right? So again, this is something where previously we didn't want to actually render out, or previously we were rendering out every single thing, every 20,000 items that were on the screen there. Now we're just down to maybe the, I don't know what that would be, about 10 or 12 items that we maybe have on the screen right now, give or take a few, right? So we can scroll. In this case, we've got about 20 that we're showing on the screen right now. So this is one of the biggest things to kind of keep in mind, that I think is a pretty important piece to remember when you're starting off drawing and building your own custom controls, is even though we're in a digital space and you can render everything out as far and as wide as you would like, keep it constrained, kind of keep in mind where you're doing this drawing, and keep it within that area. Additionally, if there is any other work that you need to do out here, for example, in the case of my scrolling boxes here, I do want to keep it to just within this area down here. I really don't want it to draw up on this header item. So what we could do in this case is we could also use some features that come in Skia for saving our context and clipping it and then restoring it. So the cool thing here that we could do, I'll just kind of point out this clip rect, basically means now that I've saved off my context, I'm going to tell it to clip off this rectangle to just this bottom area here. And what that'll ensure is that any of the drawing that I do is going to be constrained to this area here. And then later on, what I could do is I could say I can restore my context, and then I can go back to drawing kind of in all of the area out here. So just another nice little way for you to safeguard sort of where you're drawing inside of your control, just to make sure you don't get things that end up overlapping inadvertently out there. So yeah, kind of laying out, like I said, big impact on performance. One of the big things, one of the first things you're going to hit. So again, wanted to call that out right away. The last thing that we'll look at here in depth then is going to be interaction. So of course, our controls are neat and cool here. We could draw them, we could lay them out, but they're not very helpful if you can't interact with them. So let's go take a look at interaction and what that looks like out here. Our hit test is going to look pretty similar to our other control that we did out here. You can see that we've got our rectangle that we're drawing, or our defining, excuse me. And then we're going to come through and we're just going to draw out like another rounded rectangle like we did before. And then we're going to add, this will actually be the rectangle that we're drawing inside of here. And then we're going to add just a little bit of some helper information that I'll explain in a moment here. But when we're drawing out our control, what we want to do, what I find to be really helpful, especially when we kind of think about things on mobile, where a user's not going to use like a cursor and they're not going to have this really, fine mouse point out here. We want to make sure that people can interact with it with their, with their thumbs and stuff like that when they're using your UI or their pointer finger. We want to keep track of where we drew the control and how people might interact with it. So in this case, what you're going to notice is I'm going to draw this node, but I'm also going to hold on to that rectangle that I drew earlier. So if we think of drawing, like I mentioned before, kind of going from the bottom up and doing all of our drawing, now we're going to do touch interaction, and that's going to go from the top down. So when I listen for interaction, so in this case, I'm going to use basically, I'm going to listen for where the pointer was pressed. What I want to do is I want to see how somebody touched the screen. Ultimately in here, just to kind of wrap it all up or show all of this, I've got a In Uno, we've got a cool event that we could listen to here. That's this on canvas pointer pressed. And I'm just using this to basically forward to my own custom canvas. So just a little bit easier, just a little bit of a wrapper just to make building these controls over and over again a little bit easier. All right. So with listening to that pointer press, then what I'm going to get are the X and Y coordinates. And that would be helpful to some extent. But if I just had the X and Y coordinates, I wouldn't know where I had drawn my control or where the shape of my control should be, right? It would just sort of be drawn and I would see where somebody tapped and I wouldn't maybe know how to interact with it. Or what would be worse is at the time that they interacted with it, I'd have to figure out where they're tapping again and what the context of that is. The easier way to do that, like I was saying, is we're just going to hold on to our rectangle that we drew and keep it handy for later. And now what we could do is we can listen to our node, or we could use our node in the context of where it was drawn on the screen. And we can see if somebody, if the tap has landed inside of it. Okay, let me just do that and then we'll talk about this in depth a little bit more here. So now when I tap in, you could see I'm getting my tap highlight and I can also get my interaction for being tapped out there. As I mentioned though before, we want to keep mobile in mind because sometimes these controls can end up getting rendered kind of small. So if we think about here, well, I've got kind of a fixed size, so it won't be good. But if you imagine this is kind of a smaller size out here, it might be something where somebody's tapping out on the screen. And if it's a smaller control, they might hit the edge of it and the control won't respond. It's a pretty common thing that happens out there. So what I like to do a lot of times is I like to take my controls and then potentially add something like this inflation here, which will take the rectangle that I had before and kind of bump it out a little bit to make it a little bit easier to interact with. So you'll notice I've got this variable out here of hit padding. So we're just going to kind of give it 20 points to the outside of my control. And then with that, my users can go through, or my people interacting with my control can go through. And I know that, if they're tapping it right on the side here, it's not so much that they're getting just here. We're going to have a little bit of overlap and you'll notice that I get that target out there as well. So kind of makes that tap interaction a little bit easier, keeps things a little bit more straightforward from that standpoint. And also, again, like I said, just hanging on to that control, that node there makes our drawing pretty easy. So from a starting point, starting standpoint here, that is like 90% of the controls and what I have to do with them. I know it sounds ridiculous, but this is kind of like the three big things that I hit time and time again. Now, if you find yourself doing this and you find yourself making your own custom controls, there's a few things I definitely would recommend doing to make your life easier. And I'll kind of show those next here. So a few things that I like to do to start off with is if you know that you're going to be drawing a bunch of colors, build yourself a color palette, right? We see a lot of this for our mobile applications as well. So if we're doing something where we've got like our primary control colors, things like that, just kind of build these and hold on to your controller, your colors there later on. It'll make your life a lot easier. This way you don't have to remember the hex value, or you don't have to remember the value, the red, green, and blue colors for those, the red, green, and blue values for those colors. And then similarly, if you find yourself doing a lot of the same types of drawing, say you're building a lot of rectangles where you've got to figure out, the location of the rectangle, or if you find that you're doing things like text rendering and things like that. I like to build this little interface out here. I've got sort of a simplified example in this example here called iDrawing Context. And it's basically just helpers to help me draw on the UI along the way. So for path drawing, I kind of showed you the simplified version earlier on, but behind the scenes, it's kind of going through all the points in the path and just drawing them all on the path along the way. So just a real simple way to do that. For text rendering, like I mentioned before, you kind of have to start at the bottom of your font and draw from there. So just kind of keep that in mind, these little simple helper methods, so that instead of having to remember like, oh, okay, like how do I start my drawing here? What do I do with the path? just build these little helper controls and methods here, and this will help you draw along the way. So little stuff here. Again, I kind of showed the simplified version early on here, but all this code will be open sourced. I'll make sure we get all this available so everybody can pick this up and run with it from there. So cool. So what could you build with this if you wanted to go further? So I've got kind of one thing that I'll show quick, because I wasn't planning on this, but because Matthew had shown this, I just want to show this really quick. So outside of just doing your regular drawing, if you want to make use of like graphics accelerated drawing, or if you wanted to build like extremely complicated, GPU accelerated rendering, you could do things with SkiaSL. I know this is something Matthew had just shown off here a little bit ago, but that is going to be that's going to allow us to render off, shaders. We could build shader controls and shader components to build sort of complex, sometimes a little bit difficult to write by hand code that we could leverage our GPUs and things like that to render out fairly complicated UIs in a very performant, or very complicated canvases, in a very performant manner. So this is an open source project that I've been working on a little bit. It's just for generating desktops for your wallpapers for your desktop. Let me say that right. There we go. And it's all in real time, right? So you can have this, it'll generate out and render out all these different types of sort of like 2D scenes. You can totally customize and control them, and all this is drawn in real time. So kind of cool that you could do this all with SkiaSharp, right? So all this rendering here, all this drawing that you see for like these wallpapers that are being created is all done using SkiaSharp. This one, if anybody's a video game fan, if anybody's played Balatro, you've probably seen this background before, a background like this before, and it's taunted you. So all this cool stuff, all being done with SkiaSharp, which I think is pretty awesome. And then the last thing I was going to show off is, it doesn't have to be just simple controls. The last one I want to show you is something that I've been building for a while. And I guess I'll kind of announce it today. I've built an entire data grid control using SkiaSharp, and I've ported it to Uno. And it was super easy to get up and running on Uno because I had originally written it in SkiaSharp. And all I had to do was basically just get it on the platform. So this is a full open source, totally free. It costs you nothing. Data grid control library that does all the cool stuff you want. You can, it's got theming. It's got MVVM support out there. You can edit controls. You've got, cool things like pickers and all that kind of cool stuff. 100% of this, everything you see on here in this area is all rendered with SkiaSharp. So sky's the limit. And, again, performance, awesome. I just loaded 100,000 rows in and I can scroll through it. It took no time, right? Scrolling's good. Virtualization's good. If you use some of those hints that I kind of talked about just a moment ago, you absolutely could build something like this and get it up and running on your side as well. So yeah, with that, that's kind of everything that I've got for today.
Wow. Michael, you, my friend, are hardcore. I did not know you were this deep, because you kind of scared me and Javier a little bit when you said you have to do a little math. But it wasn't that. It wasn't that.
Well, the thing I always find interesting, Michael, when you were showing here's where you put the pixels, everything else, is it's funny because if you ever back in the day, and this is like Visual Studio 2002 when it first came out, .NET first came out, right? And you were dragging and dropping into Windows forms, right? And then I'm just going back because if people haven't done, the same thing would happen in VV6, but it was a bit more hidden than there was in Windows form. When you would drag a button on a form, air quotes, and you would move it, the GUI was doing all that math for you.
Right.
Right. It will tell you, here's your pixel, here's this, I'm going to do that or that. So the fact that you kind of went through all that and show you is here's really what you have to do. at the core, right? There's no escaping it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's like you have to know that it's there, so then you can know what is possible, rather than just more of like, well, I just drag and drop this one thing.
It just happened,
like,
right? Yeah,
it's just magic, AI, do the thing. It doesn't work that way, right? You still have to know how the thing works. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is that that you created this great grid using all of that, rewriting it, and you still have to know all that math and all those pieces to make it all work together. And that is hard, but it's also rewarding.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I'd been working on this for years. AI had made the math easier nowadays, y'all.
Yes. Right.
Getting some of that stuff down and figuring that out. But that, like I mentioned before, that is the hardest part. It's right. And as like typical UI developers, it's not something we always think about. We think about, oh, I'm laying something out like in a grid. Which row and column does it go into? It's things like that. It's not always the like, oh, I need this a little bit of padding here, and how does it get rendered out? So it's certainly a change in mindset when you're building these controls. But once you get into the the swing of it, it's like second nature, and it's so much fun to build them. It's so satisfying. Like it always just had kind of irked me a little bit in the past to have like cool designers build things, hand it over, and then for me to immediately say like, we don't have that. We can't do that. Or we've got to go buy it or hope that somebody built it. Now it's just like, oh no, I'll make it.
Well, it's funny you say that because Michael, because I remember back again, I'm going to date myself here, Sam. So back in the day, and there used to be a conference called Mix that Microsoft had forever ago, right? And I remember when they released Blend UI, where like you can design all of this, you can have your designer go do this, and I'm not gonna bash Blend because Blend had its issues, right?
It was cool.
It was a cool tool, right? But it was the whole promise of like, we're gonna give you X, and then X is an output. The developers can take X, and then they'll produce Y, and it's just magically there, right? Fast forward to now, Blend is Figma now. right,
totally.
And the fact that we have great tools from Uno that can take Figma design and actually make my UI work is amazing, because that was the huge gap. That was the chasm that it took the designer, say, a day or two to design everything. It's going to take me weeks to get the right pixel in the right spot because I have to go do this and this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, like, I have all the power to do it, and I can do it in a reusable control. That's the beauty of all this.
Yeah, and having support for Figma, being able to pull that stuff into Uno, and then having hot reload.
Yes.
Oh boy,
exactly.
Is such a godsend. It makes as I was shown in the demo here, just being able to tweak something quick, reload it really fast, and see it in action. Again, just one of those things that is a custom control designer makes life so much easier, makes it so much better to build these controls. And just it closes that loop. It's so much faster kind of going through there. So it's something I'm pretty excited about.
Indeed, folks. All right. So we are running about 10 minutes behind schedule, which is fine. We're having good conversations. So Michael, 2 points before we let you go. First up, you dropped a big news. This is huge, right? Yeah. You have a data grid that is custom built. So please put that link out in the chat room. Out on the social, so we can give it all the love that it deserves. Now, one quick question for you here from the chat room. It was asked a little while back, but I'm going to pose it to you. So now that we're talking about specific GPU backends that SkiaSharp is going to use, from Vulkan to Ganesh to now Graphite. So the question is, from I think John Hodnick, is like, what do I do as a developer? Like, do I have to have a migration path and so on? So there are two nuances to this. So I'm going to maybe try to take this from a Uno Platform standpoint. So every bit of UI that you see from us, yes, it's drawn with SkiaSharp, but and Graphite is just being merged as we speak, but we have not adopted that yet because we want to make sure we do extensive testing on all of our UI before we say that, yes, now we have Graphite support. But you are in a different place, Michael, because you're actually building hand-drawn UI. So what do these backends mean for you?
So in general, from like a a drawing perspective, not much. Like it doesn't change my workflow really all that much. If I'm wanting to use like a graphics accelerated backend, or if I'm just wanting to use a regular sort of like 2D or a software rendered backend, there could be some slight differences there. But in terms of like actually doing the drawing, it's transparent to us. You're just setting up your user interface, or you're just building your control. You're just doing the drawing the exact same way out there. It's really sort of, Uno and Skia in this case that are going to pick up and take care of the rest out there for you. So, and I think, and actually I just saw it in the chat there. Matthew just said it. So all the same SK canvas, right? So you're just drawing on the canvas. It's all going to render out the same way on the back end out there for you. So
there we go. All right. Well, Michael, this is amazing. Thank you for dropping the news on the data grid. You
excited to be
all
here.
The love. All right. So that's amazing stuff. So I'm going to bring your desktop down here for a second. But Michael, thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
I can share my screen back out before we say goodbye to you. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so Michael Stonis, people, thank you for showing us how to get down to the basics, Michael, and helping us build complex UI. All right, so we'll let you go. Go have lunch, and we'll see you on the other side.
I'll see y'all. Thanks.
All right. Okay, so are we ready for what's next, Javier? This is going to be,
it's going to be pretty cool. I think so. I'm excited for it.
It will be. All right. So Colin Whitlatch is our next speaker. And Colin, if you're ready, I am going to bring you up. There. Can you hear us? Can you see us?
I can hear you. I can see you, but can you hear me?
Yes. Perfect.
Yes.
Trifecta. Here we go.
All right. So Colin is up next. And Colin, why don't you first introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. So Colin Whitlatch, I'm CTO of Kahoot, and we build just an enterprise business application platform that these days has many capabilities. So we're going to get into some of them. And I promise you might find the first half a little bit boring here in what we show. I'll make up for it in the second half. But just quickly on this, I'll say long time Uno partners. Been with them for really through so many transformations. This is just one of the latest ones here, but we've gone through quite a bit. And just a quick background on the technology front. Long ago, literally 15 years ago, started with the Silverlight host near and dear. I actually laughed because some of the things you guys covered were derived from Silverlight, believe it or not. The good things. And then it's moved quite along from there. So it went through WPF, and then we went to UI, and now we're on to what we have today. So it's been an awesome journey with Uno because it's going on 8 years now, and love it because where we are today, could not have dreamed of it. We're talking about even just stuff with Ski, couldn't dream of it. It's just amazing to see. But anyway, that's us in a nutshell. We'll get into some more things here in a minute.
Yeah, so I'll just mention one or two quick things before we let Colin drive. So Colin and his team at Kahoot are amazing. So Javier, we often show up at conferences with Kahoot, and it's so cool for people to actually see what's possible with Uno Platform and SkiaSharp. Kahoot is the enterprise proof that what's possible. And Colin has got a wonderful co-worker of his named Darren May. I got to hang out with him last week, and we were joking how, you're in good company here, Colin. With Javier and me, we have seen the evolution. We had written books about Silverlight and Windows Phone. So it's good to see the whole transition and how much things have evolved and how much better it is for devs.
Well, Colin, I will say this: you are a true nerd when you said from Silverlight and all this stuff, the good parts that came along, because you understand all the components, and people don't know that if it weren't for Silverlight, we wouldn't have .NET Core the way we have it right now, because that made the huge foundations for the CLR and everything that we have behind the scenes. Yes. Beans have been spilled. That's how it all works, right? And it's just reusable code, but obviously it's been optimized and everything else across platform. But that it was cool. If we could put a man on the moon and bring them back safely, we could probably go to Mars.
Absolutely.
All right. So enough said.
Take
Colin. Take it away. I'm going to bring up your desktop here. Where did that
bring it up? I would say a couple things. One, I laughed by the way because a minute ago when we said. When you're doing the AI development, you got the first half right there too. Do the thing, but you don't have to know the thing if you just say make no mistakes. I thought everyone knew that.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know the math, but just don't make mistakes. Go for it.
Or as I like to say, if I wanted it done right, I would have done. Oh, sorry, I wanted it done wrong. I would have done it myself.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we want to name our QA agent make no mistakes. All right, so getting into things. All right, just a little bit more brief history in this. What you're looking at is our host, and it's really powered by Uno. We have desktop, we have web, we have mobile. Runs the we are true nerds, so we're also lazy, so we only want to write things once and have it run everywhere. That's one of the big value adds of Uno just from the beginning, and that is very much true for what we have here. Getting all the way to Skia, some interesting things with this is we were using Uno has the Skia renderer, and for years had the DOM renderer. Well, we were rocking the DOM up until I'm going to say it was about 7 months ago. And we had been working towards making sure everything ran on Skia. And as Sam well knows, we go to every nook and cranny of Uno and Skia. Like, it needs to work. And if there's anything that's not right, we're going to find it because we use it in some way. And so we went through this methodically through everything, and we rolled this out. We rolled the transition from DOM to Skia on just a weekend. We didn't tell anyone. We have well over 100,000 users. Didn't tell anyone. No one knew. All right, they came in on Monday morning and they were using the Skia renderer, and it was business as usual. The only thing we got back is, wow, seems a little snappier. And that was it. We literally had 0 reports, no defects. Everybody inside the company quite pleased because one of those big shifts, it's a paradigm shifting thing. But that just speaks to the power of Uno and their implementation, and also to Skia. I mean, again, and this was 3 at the time, so the 4 is even better. The only thing that has come up since then, was NVIDIA had a bug in one of their drivers. And so when Skia called into it, it was in immediate mode, went down to the WebGL side of things, and it was a math error, believe it or not. And so it would just throw a gigantic, a strange glyph on screen. That was it. And then NVIDIA patched their software. By the way, users don't understand that. It's very hard to explain to them that this problem is not ours. I know you see it in our stuff. It's not us. But that got fixed in an NVIDIA update, and all is well, really. All right, so getting into this is the boring part. We're talking about the business application side of things, but I will say business runs a significant amount of what's in the world. And that's what we are, bread and butter here. What you're looking at, believe it or not, complexity-wise, you're looking at about 4,000 elements that are here. DOM world, that was 4,000 DOM elements. And there was a bunch of heavy optimization in there, but at the end of the day, 4,000 DOM elements is a lot sluggish. Skia, it's going canvas. It's just rendering what it needs to here. And that is where you get these massive performance gains on animations. And so with the time I had today, I want to get into this and then get into something very fun. And the very important thing here is just to show you what we do with Skia. We'll get past it. Again, nobody noticed. 100,000 people didn't notice that we swapped out 10, 20,000 elements for Skia. It's just exactly the same as it was, or better, because it's smoother. But what we do in our business, a very popular feature is being able to work with PDFs. And we also do 3D as well. But to keep things simple, we're going to go to 2D here. And what I've got here, just to show you just what we've built, is you're looking at our PDF renderer, and it's got all the bells and whistles of a regular PDF renderer. And what's happening here is literally we're breaking it up into tiles and rendering each one as a Skia tile. I think this might have, at this point, probably like 8 of them here. But you don't even see it. No seams. And so that's what we do just at a basic level. The math made me laugh because this is our day in and day out. You got to deal with the DPI, you got to deal with the resolutions and figure out what people have done, the rotations of PDFs, all that fun stuff. But just to give you an idea, people use this heavily, and they draw markups on these things, and they go in there and, in the boring world of, what's an annotation there? We'll just save and close this, put on there. There's drawing certain things or highlighting them. This could be a drawing. This is the office building here. And they would sync these things, and they make markups, and they send these off, do a little bit of business process with it. Well, good stuff. And SkiaSharp 4 enables that just to go a whole lot faster. Well, now in the age of AI, let's get a little bit more fun. And the cool thing we can do now with 4 is something we can just do overlays of any kind. So it's like, you know what? Let's just give AI an overlay. And this is the part where I didn't tell marketing what I was doing today, so it's free reign. We can do live demos. We can show things that have they're not of significant marketing value, but great technical value perhaps. But here's a cool thing. So you'll notice here in our file assistant, it's like, we're just going to go for gold here. Let's draw the and I've not tried this, Uno Platform logo on the drawing. Let's see what she does. And so what's happening here is it's now created a layer on top. So it's part of the stack that's there. Again, we're in WebGL, so it's just literally going to be blending everything in. It's going to attempt, and I had no, what did it do here? I did, it added, let's see, I had a stylized Uno Platform logo near the lower right area of the sheet. Yeah, I'd give it that. What do you guys think? A little bit? It did a web search to figure out things and did it on the fly. All right, that's good. All right, let's try something. I'll take crowd requests, by the way. I'm going to be in the chat there. We'll do hopefully no copyright infringement, but let's try this. And it's going to, what it's doing is literally drawing, talking straight into Ski at the end of the day. And it's AI powered. So we gave it tools. We've learned a lot in the AI realm on the business side. Security is first and foremost. And so what really happens here is we have an LLM that went and it's telling us, we ask for something, it comes back, doesn't call the tools. Sorry, I can't do that in our enterprise system. Instead, it just says, I would prefer, if I could, to call these tools. So it said, I want to call a bunch of drawing type tools that you may have. And so it did. And that didn't do too bad. I mean, it resembles, I think, right? Good. But there's a practical use for this. You can just do things such as you're looking for columns, draw highlights. Like I learned to spell, things will be good. We'll just do this because what people do here now that you have AI, you can say, hey, I'm looking with vision. I want to see what kind of doors are on this drawing, perhaps, or maybe you got air conditioning units and you want to highlight what's there. But bottom line, on the Skia front, it's funny. It's I joke that it's boring. We actually we find it fun because we're nerds. But at the end of the day, it's very, having these tools, the ability, they just give you things you can do, and there's no limit anymore. Period. Because one of the things when I was listening just a bit ago that you kind of equate here with Skia, I mean, you can now draw anything, literally. So it's just a blank slate. We love that in here at Kahua because it's a blank slate. You can draw anything. It's so fast, and the controls are intuitive. And AI can assist with a lot of these things. We can say, do these types of crazy diagrams. You want to come up with a chart that no one's ever seen in the world before. Great, let's have it at it. Feed it the math, and away you go, as we just saw. All right, this one is actually doing. I kicked off a scan, so now we're doing OCR. And this is why it's unscripted, folks, by the way, and if there's something in the chat, happy to do it. But again, it's what AI is doing is it's now taking a look at what's there. We'll give it a minute. We'll see how it does when it comes back up. But the other areas where we use Skia, we do it on the 3D side of things now. And we do a lot of blending of things because we have a 3D rendering system for building information modeling, going in and seeing large skyscrapers. There you go. There. It lit up. That's why I was busy. But for example, here it's highlighting certain things, and there's a legend it's talking about key rooms, corridors, all that fun stuff. And then this is what kicks off the world of the business side of kind of managing buildings, by the way. But we use the rendering for just doing, you can do like a high-rise building. You can do a complex. You can do large immersive worlds. And we're now getting into being able to rapidly just be able to render those in browser, in desktop, doesn't matter. Mobile as well, though you're a little bit limited on the phones these days in terms of real estate. But there are some ways to get around that. And so that's what we do. And so we use Skia literally day in and day out, whether it's directly with it, like on the drawing side of things. This is actually being mapped to actual Skia method calls to indirectly on the Uno front. And again, I got to stress, we don't worry about what Skia is going to do when it comes to the actual application. And when it's, with Uno, we're dropping XAML on here, we're running C#. It just works, and it works quickly. Last thing before I go to our cool feature is that I cannot understate how dramatic the performance improvement is switching from NOM to Skia. So anyone out there on the Uno side of things doing that, you'll notice a big bang there. But also just the improvements in Skia itself, and it comes from a variety of things. We're at 4, and I always joke internally, like, you don't ever want 1.0, you want 1.1 at least. You sure get a good bang for 2, 3, 4. It's just matured. All right, so it's very mature. It's been around so long. I think it's 20 years for Skia now, perhaps, since it originally came out from the spec. And it kind of seems like maybe it's always like, no, there's a lot of cool, good stuff in there. And then as hardware still advances, we love that, by the way. We like drivers that work first and foremost, by the way, very clear. But then we really like it when there are hardware advancements because they just then show up. And it's actually impressive to see. We have customers that are still using 2018, 2019 vintage machines, and they're doing that with 60 frames per second on what you see here. And that does matter because when you sit there talking about drag and drop earlier, people do not like it when it stutters. People want smooth. They're doing these drawing operations. They want things to be fluid and just seamless. And so we're seeing things that happen in Skia specifically have improved the performance on 7 to 8 year old machines. All right, I'll stop there in case we have any chat. Any questions before we get to something a little special?
Can I ask a question here?
Absolutely.
Well, maybe more of a comment here, because I love seeing things like this, Colin, because it's enterprise. It's real. Mm-hmm. It's not something fake. It's not something gimmicky. This is what your 100,000 users are using and seeing every day. Do you see a difference? Like this one looks like it's running straight up in your browser. So this is a WASM application?
Yes.
Okay, and it's SkiaSharp. So you are essentially layering on several layers, and your AI assistant is doing things on top of the existing layers. So this is phenomenal, and the fact that you can the users can annotate and do stuff on an existing surface, just layering up, and it doesn't stutter. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, do you folks also have like desktop apps? Do you see a difference?
It's no. The only thing we get, all right, so we talk about people always ask, should I use desktop or web? And we go into that because it comes up fairly frequently. There are two things why you would prefer desktop over web for our solution. Thing number one is going to be the sandbox that the web has. One thing you can do with Go is, and if you have to have the right security in your company, organization, or government agency needs to enable it or allow it, is you can start taking things, streaming them locally. Web, it does have some features for that, but they're not clean where you can point to a drive on your machine, for example. And as much as we don't recommend it, people love to hook their Kuha up to their OneDrive. And then that's syncing on top of syncing, and all sorts of bad things can happen. But it works fairly well. But that's one of the bigger ones to use desktop. When it comes to performance itself, we, believe it or not, web now renders a smidge faster than desktop, even with Skia. And that actually has to do with the operating system and how it's the web is just heavily optimized here. And if I had to venture to guess, the predominant kind of interface for things, at least in our world, is going to be web. And so that's what you're going to see. Everything is just tuned in there, and it's okay. It's still very fast, but with our application, the renderings are coming up a bit quicker on Skia. Now, it's when I say quicker, we're talking like 10 milliseconds. So the experience is the same, but that's what you see it. And then before, when we were back on just desktop WinUI without Skia, you did have things like the animations that Windows could provide. But now that we're in Skia, we can provide the same thing everywhere. Something on mobile, we got some really cool sliding animations now that were just not possible to do without Skia because it wasn't just the operating system didn't allow it. And then this second, the big one, that's just a limiting factor right now. It has nothing to do with Uno, has nothing to do with Skia. That is, we're effectively at a 2 gigabyte sandbox right now. Still working on the memory 64. It's very restricted. If anybody out there in the consortiums are listening, really should do an improvement here and allowing just a little bit more RAM, and that would be so sandbox. And then there's some downsides to it. You got to use the 64-bit addressing space, and so there's some trade-offs. But business applications, they are memory hungry. I'll put it that way. And so we do everything we can to optimize. A lot of tricks that are involved, really, or at least just mechanisms to say, as soon as something comes out off visually, for example, it just needs to not, there can't be memory allocations. And then when people load up, some people like to load up 50,000 documents. We need to provide that for them. So we have to do some things to not allow that to happen. It's gotten a lot better. One kind of related thing here is the memory stability here on Uno, and especially Skia, is fantastic. We don't see memory that we're leaking. We just really don't see that. We have benchmarks to see, exactly what we're doing, run through every possible type of combination of what's going on. And it's a very well-tuned code base because I think even in the managed land, memory can escape you because you've got it rooted. So you definitely have to always be worried of that. But yeah, memory pressure issues are always going to be because we need a lot, and that is it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to add to that, Colin. Also, the more components you have, and the more like, well, I'm not doing this heavy lifting. This library is doing the heavy lifting. That's where the memory tends to spike up, right? So, and the fact that you do have Uno that does a lot of management for you in that side, and they're optimized for those sort of things. And then you have Skia, who is also so like you don't have to worry about that overhead, right? But it's like trying to bring that other third party to make it easier could be detrimental. And I'm sure you probably ran into that as you were trying to figure things out, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Per element memory of any kind, whether it comes from a vendor or it comes from yourself, it's painful. Yeah. Because our most complex visual density is probably around 30 to 40,000 elements. So you can probably get in a situation where it's more. And yeah, just one byte. That's a lot, about 40K. And then it's usually not just one byte. It's a lot more.
Yeah. If I talk to the chat room here for a second, Matt Leibowitz is still hanging out with us. Could we make this a PWA? Yes, as you heard, like it depends, right? And on your sandboxing needs, memory needs, and so on. Yeah. But another question here from the chat room, like for a heavy app like this, Colin, where it's enterprise needs, do you care about like the first time to load, like how you bundle things?
Yes, we very much do. So this is a very heavyweight application in terms of what you're going to see on the web, because it literally is an enterprise business application. View it as something that you would do like with desktop apps like Office, anything like Word and Excel. So that is the equivalent. We do a whole lot different, and we actually have those capabilities within our app. So we're large to start. Our current payload size, and I'm actually going to over another tab here. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is today in production, just because I'm curious where we are. It is going to be, I'd say, somewhere 60 to 70 megabytes plus, I believe, if you're just doing a fresh, no caching whatsoever. So let me load that up for a second so I get you the
That's number. Not bad for everything you're doing here. It's really not bad.
It's not, because there's some good things in here. We brought press everything when the payload's coming down, and Uno provides really some easy ways to make that happen. Let me launch this real quick. We're going to get the de facto size for you. We're going to see how long it takes. No caching. If I didn't want to risk not being able to show you the next thing, I'd share my screen. But here, take my word for it for a moment. I'll show it at the end if you'd like. So we're hitting this, and we are going, and we're downloading. And so at the moment, let's see what it ended up getting. 84 requests on what we've loaded. And you can go to our launchlikego.com, see this yourself. It is almost done. The majority of the things being downloaded after we get past, the way it works is there's the .wasm files that the browser brings down. And that's effectively DLLs, if you will. And then you've got true type fonts, for example. We just download those. And we do have some JavaScript and we have some CSS. And it looks like, yes, we're actually, it looks like 54 megabytes on what I downloaded here. And it uncompresses about 170 megabytes. So the uncompressed large size, about 170 megabytes for everything you see here. There is an entire world here. There's somewhere on the order of about 1,500 different XAML views that you can get to within our system. And those are the static ones. Our system actually is mostly dynamic and does things off of metadata that actually, runtime, we interpret what to render. There's actually 2,500 of those, and they come to the browser or to desktop or mobile, and they get rendered. So that's also, that whole mechanism is living within the host. And so it's how big it's large, but again, you get relative, if you will. It's not like these big CAD programs that take 10.9 gigabytes just to get off the ground and get you into editing. And then I refresh, by the way. So on a refresh, and again, this is the power of a couple things. Uno's done a whole lot to optimize, as well as the .wasm runtime that's there. They do a whole lot as well doing fingerprinting. If just a 7.8 megabytes is transferred once the framework directory is cached. So if we don't do a new version of Goa, but you wipe out everything else, but you keep the WASM bits, it's just 7.8 megabytes of just resources.
And the thing about it, Colin, one thing, we're continuing with this size of so forth. You did mention that even some of your, the 100,000 customers you have, they have older hardware, right? So if they have older hardware, they also probably don't have fast internet. Right, and they all tend to go together, right? And I don't mean in a bad way. I mean, I have clients that have the same thing because of just That's the way the office is set up, or the office has been there forever. Welcome to the human side of the business, right? Where, so even though like you're at 50 megs, you're downloading for the compressed and even uncompressed, like that's a significant footprint, but they don't have to worry about all this stuff waiting. Like you said, it renders a lot faster and everything else. So the benefits are there for the users that have it, and it's a tool that they have to work with day in and day out. So that's a huge win that it's even to that size.
Yes, and we it is, and it's very important because people start their work Monday morning. They want to get in and get started. You
right.
Want to wait. And to that end, I do recommend edge caching. Get those bits as close as you can get to people. Using CDNs is a very, very good thing.
Yep.
All right, so for the chat room, like we do have our 2 next speakers, but we're running about 10 to 12 minutes behind schedule. But that's all right. So Colin, so let me ask you this. So this is your Monday to Friday, keeping your enterprise customers happy. Yep. What do you do for fun at SkiaSharp?
Well, let me show you. I'm so glad you asked. All right, so we like to have fun. And I will say there's one thing I've said since, always when hiring people, I love to look at the backgrounds of people that love to be working with games, because a lot of optimizations in the business world, there are corollaries in game development. You have to optimize the heck out of games because you got to keep that frame rate up, right? It can't drop because then you're not going to have the sales that you need. So to keep ourselves sharp, what do we do for fun? It's like, hey, why don't we go see what SkiaSharp can do with games? So, and just to keep it down, because we're running out of time, I had a challenge. Darren, our dear friend Darren May, I said, and you got to be careful with this, folks, if you're the ones paying the bill on AI, not always a good thing to say, hey, you know what, take a day, just do whatever you want with Claude, have at it, with no limits. Because on one side, you burn a lot of credits, but on the other, you can build an entire Hawaiian-themed arcade center. And so that's what we did here. And this is what Darren, he maxed out everything possible. So again, let me stress this one so we don't have any legal issues. You're going to see these things on here, some classic games that are out there. We made Hawaiian equivalents, and that's what these things are. Like Oahu means stone. Oh, by the way, Kahua is Hawaiian for platform. And so you're seeing a Hawaiian version of these things. And so this is the desktop version. And so if you go in here and we'll pick, this is Centipede. It should play a demo here. It should load up in just a second because I'm loading this from my local. There it is, popped up over here. Here we go. So it's going to launch these things. So it's Centipede. So it's, press space to start. And, the usual. It may look familiar to some people.
Sound. I love it.
Yes. So you got that. All right, that's a good one. Let's do a couple more. I want to show something a little special here. We can do asteroids. Let's do Galaga. Let's do that.
I was just gonna say, because like we were at a conference, and Javier, when you have Galaga and these old school games running like this, people cannot just like walk by. You have to stop.
They're like, "What's going on here? How can I get this?"
Yeah.
This is the latest and greatest technology. Again, so this is SkiaSharp 4. All right, so you can play. It's good. I will say it's fun to explore. Back to the math side. We'll let myself die for a second. The algorithms used were actually very impressive. And people have to remember, so this is, we're in 2026, but these things are in 1980. And what they did and achieved, you're looking like, oh, how did they do that? And it always cracks when we implement an algorithm with something that's 10,000 times faster and it's slow. It's like, man, they knew what they were doing. All right, so here's the cool thing. All right, here's the ending that I'll show everybody. All right, we got this. We got a bunch of games, and due to, again, we're lazy. We don't like to write things once, and so we've given you this here. Well, why don't we also let me pull one more thing over here. Show what you can do on the website of things. And this is publicly accessible. If you want to see this exact same thing running on your very own browser at home, you are more than welcome to at nania.kahua.com. It's the exact same thing you just saw. So you go in here and you can play these games. Let's launch Galaga. And same exact thing. If I'll say this is bite identical here. It's just now going to the web. So it's WASM here is going through all the loveliness of Uno here. It's going to be a little jerky because now I've got like 15 things going on. If you can even see it, got a little fast. Nothing to do with Skia, by the way, as a fact. We're broadcasting. It's running over here. My CPU is 100%. And so anyway, feel free, definitely everybody that's there, feel free to grab this. Try out every game that's there. They all run the exact same thing you have on desktop. And we couldn't be more really just happy with the performance of SkiaSharp 4.0. That's what powers all of this. And then it just comes to us. It was fun to do this, learned a lot, and as well as it actually benefits us on the business side because we actually applied some algorithmic improvements and some things that we did with the optimizations on that drawing that you saw to start with actually came from here.
This is amazing stuff. So, folks, here's the URL, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
don't trust the thing that we're saying. Go try it yourself. Like this is the proof that how fast
do it after the live stream though, because we will lose so much viewership right now if you were to go do that. Watch the live stream and then go explore Nania.
Yeah. So, like, if you needed any more proof, like how fast SkiaSharp can be and whether it can do games and whether it can do high-end enterprise apps, this is it. So this is why we love having Colin show you all the real stuff.
And I will say this, Colin, is like there's a special place in my heart when you use like all the words, all the Hawaiian words. So a long time ago, I've actually started naming projects using Hawaiian words just because the language is so phonetic, right?
Yeah.
And it is such a simple word to express more than just like, here's an action, here's a verb. Like it's just, it's so great. So I'm geeking out that you guys do the same thing. This is perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then actually means sense of peace, relaxation.
Yes.
It's a fantastic, we can't even say that in English. It takes like 5 words.
That exactly.
Well done. All right. So, Colin, thank you so much. I know you are super, super busy. So thank you for taking the time to come and, blow our minds here with all the stuff that's possible. So thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. See ya.
See ya.
All right,
Thank you,
we'll
Colin.
take down your desktop. Yep. And I'll take Colin down. All right. So, Javier, how are you feeling, man? Inspired, right?
That was pretty nerdy. And I am a fan of nerd, so I appreciate it. So that was really good. So thank you, Colin, for doing that.
That was amazing. All right, so let's see. Where is my screen back up? So let me bring that up, and we can.
We have Martin back up again.
Yeah. So let's see.
Colin.
With
Jeremy.
Yes, as if we did not have enough fun. Let's have more fun. So let's see. Where is our friend Martin? If you're ready, I'm going to bring you up, Martin. There you go.
Yes, and, hello again.
Hello. It's late evening for you, and you're still up and running. And we have our good friend Jeremy. You ready, Jeremy? Ready or not? Here you are. Yay!
The one, the only Jeremy Sinclair.
The one and only. All right. So we're going to put you two up here. Mm-hmm. And so, Martin, we have heard you before, but go ahead and introduce yourself one more time, please.
Yes. So my name is Martin Zygmunt. I'm on the Uno Platform framework. I'm the lead engineer on the Uno Core side of things. So building the framework, which on top of which all the Uno Platform cool things like Uno AI and Studio Live, Uno Platform Studio, and all of those things run on. So I'm responsible for the framework itself and the UI elements and controls and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Martin is calling in from Prague, Czech Republic, correct?
Indeed.
Late evening. And Jeremy, you go next, sir.
Yes, Jeremy Sinclair here. I'm a Microsoft MVP, typically the one who has been yelling about Windows and ARM64. And yeah, that's what I'm known for. And I love a lot of desktop development. I love .NET and I love getting my hands dirty.
I think you're the most passionate .NET developer I have known in the community. Too many ideas. Yeah, thank you for being here. So before we actually jump in, Martin, I'm going to phrase a question here from the chat room for you. And maybe I can try taking a stab as well. So MCNets is asking, is there MCP readiness for SkiaSharp 4 in Uno Studio? So I believe this might be a question for the docs, because we do have docs, and anything we do with SkiaSharp, it's all embedded in the latest docs. But what's your response to that, Martin?
I would say changing or upgrading to SkiaSharp 4 currently is just changing a property in your CSproj file, and that's it. So it's like, it's not a hard thing to do. And once you are on the latest version, you can start taking advantage of it. And if your agent knows that you are running against SkiaSharp 4, it can use the knowledge that it has, or that it can get from SkiaSharp docs and so on, to kind of apply that knowledge and improve your application this way. We don't have yet specific instructions or docs for Uno MCP to actually give you specific SkiaSharp 4 improvements, but you can still point it to SkiaSharp documentation and to the release notes maybe, and ask it to use those to improve your application specifically.
Yeah. And our folks are responding here in the chat room. We do have skills. So again, like everything is open source. Right? SkiaSharp is open source. All of our stuff is open source. So point the MCPs to the docs, and it'll drop through all of SkiaSharp as well to get you the right guidance. So again, you with an AI agent essentially fall into a bit of success.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Martin and Jeremy, which one of you wants to go first? Martin, how about you?
Hi. Okay, I can definitely go first.
Okay. So I'll bring up your desktop. Whoa, yes. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I made a small demo app as well, so people can try it out. I can actually send a link, or I'm not sure if I am not able to post in the chat. So if you can do it for me, it's actually on my GitHub, so you can actually go there and go to the repo Fun with SkiaSharp, which I will also show you. And this app is basically a Uno Platform application that shows a lot of fun demos with SkiaSharp. So this is the repo. And there is, I think, like 19 demos, small mini games, small applications that are then shown in this large one single application, one WebAssembly application that's deployed on GitHub pages. So it is kind of showing everything that that is there. And I will just show you some small examples of that. This is kind of a shader-based galaxy where you can zoom in, zoom out, and do some nice effects. And that's all SkiaSharp, one single shader that's doing everything. And the nice thing is that this is SkiaSharp combined with Uno Platform. So Uno Platform is providing the inputs, it's providing the effects, the inputs, the integration with the OS or with the browser or with the device on which you're running it on. And you can then easily respond to those in SkiaSharp and render something interesting. So this same application, you can run it on your mobile phone, you can run it on your Android phone, you can run it on desktop, and it will work the same way because it's built on Uno Platform, which provides the cross-platform wiring into your OS, which is nice. So this is shader. I have some here an example of fireworks. So it kind of goes up and then explodes, and you can add your own by clicking on the screen. So kind of a fun little demo there. I'm not sure if I have lost your some.
No, we can hear you. You're all good.
Sorry,
we are just silent and in awe, giving you the spotlight. And I want to take
nothing,
this.
So it was surprising for me.
Hey, in a couple of days, America hits 250th. There's going to be fireworks, but this is fireworks just with SkiaSharp.
Exactly.
This performance is phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, it's all SkiaSharp, and it's all rendered using hardware accelerated graphics in the browser. So basically, it's what you get with Uno Platform Skia rendered applications. And basically, all of those samples, I think, are just rendered using SK Canvas element, which is part of the XAML canvas. So you can see here the buttons around it are actually XAML elements, which are part of the XAML tree, and inside is the rendered canvas that's drawing the SkiaSharp content. So here's a breakout game, just a simple, classic breakout that you know and love from your childhood, and it just works. There is not much more to it. It's just simple application, simple game. It's all written in SkiaSharp, And around it, you have the content, the UI elements that are drawn using Uno Platform. So that's the kind of integration you get. And you can control it using mouse, or you can control it also using keyboard controls. So super simple to get it working. And that's something that you get when you combine SkiaSharp with a framework on top of it. So there's many samples. So you can just show some.
This is.
Yeah,
I was going to say, this is like so classic Martin, like spoken like a true engineering lead. It's so simple. This is also simple. Like, no, it's not.
Oh, it's fun,
It's
playing
fun,
with
though,
these
yeah.
things is just fun. And now with the age of AI, you can play with much more things than before, which makes it even better because you can whip up these simple demos quickly, and you can see what you achieve with Uno Platform combined with SkiaSharp. And you can let your imagination loose and create more things than before. So yeah, classic 2048 game you probably remember from mobile phones, and I basically got this simple game in one single prompt. So super simple to get. And again, it's controlled using arrows. You can control it using mouse or even touchscreen. So all it's integrated using Uno Platform wiring. So yeah, you can open this demo on your devices. You can play with it, and you can try out all the demos, and you can even contribute because it's open source and it's accessible to the public. So you can make your pull requests and let loose on your imagination. So yeah, that's this demo. And now I will go with something more crazy, which is Doom, because the old question in computer engineering is, can it run Doom? And the answer for SkiaSharp and Uno Platform is that it can run Doom. And I have Doom running here in the browser. It's based on my Uno Doom repo, which is also open source. So you can.
Is it actual Doom, the what, or is it your port of Doom?
Great question, and I will answer that. So this is the repository. Doom is a shareware game, so it is open source, but the VAT file, which contains the maps and all that stuff, is not actually free for resharing without license, and so it's not part of the open source repo, but you can download the VAT files from a VAT archive. For example, here you can download the Doom 1 VAT, and then you can open it in the Uno Doom WebAssembly application. So the free Doom is the open source version that's available, but you can open File Picker and open it there. So I already preloaded the Doom VAT file, and I can start it. And here we have Doom rendered in the browser, and I can play it on my browser here. So select difficulty and I can play. So this is rendered using SkiaSharp in the browser, and the UI around it is rendered using Uno Platform. So I can play just classic Doom here, killing these
Bring back my
cars.
childhood.
Yeah. So yeah, classic nostalgia, right? But the cool thing here, again, it's Uno Platform application around it. So if I click here, I can get touch controls. So if I was on a mobile phone, I could still play it on that mobile phone using these touch controls. So that's just, having the ability to run the same application across all devices. And then if you want to go even crazier, you can connect your, gamepad like Xbox controller or something like that, and you can play using Xbox controller against your WebAssembly application that's rendered using SkiaSharp. So that's super cool because you have the integration of devices that are talking to the browser and doing something with that browser. And actually, I tested this game even in a Tesla browser. So you can hop into your car, open that URL there, connect your Xbox controller or PlayStation controller, and play it inside of your car and play this game in the browser. So it's just super fun, and it never gets old.
That is hilarious. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the type of energy we need in 2026.
Oh, indeed.
I was gonna say, this is the best demo of Doom I've seen in forever, right? Because always somebody takes it. What about this? Or look, it's running on a Raspberry Pi. Like all the little crazy things with it, but it's like, but no, look, here's just load up the WAD and then boom, here you go.
Yep.
It's the the entire engine is literally right here.
Exactly.
So maybe a question here, Martin. So what parts of the engine did you have to move? Like, is Skia painting every layer, or what's the complexity behind this to make it work?
Yeah, that's actually a fun story behind it, because Uno Doom repository is based on several layers of ancestry, and you can see it in the repo here. Where is it? Yes, it's based on managed Doom, which is a C# port of Doom, but the rendering is done using SkiaSharp in Uno Platform. So this is the C# port behind it, which was based on Linux Doom, which is the original kind of software source code that it was based on. And actually, parts of the implementation were also built in, there is Doom Mobile project that was the first one to bring .NET Doom to mobile. I think it was this is the Maui repository that kind of brought it to Android and iOS. And from there, I took it and brought it to Uno Platform, so it now runs in the browser as well, and it runs on everything that Uno Platform runs on. So that's kind of multiple layers of ancestry, which got us where we are here. And the rendering itself is the rendering of Doom is quite complex, and actually there is a whole book about it. It's a game engine, a black book of Doom, which was written by Fabian Sanglard. It's available as a PDF, but you can also buy a printout copy if you want to support him, because he made a great job of kind of explaining how its software implemented this whole Doom rendering, and it contains a lot of interesting tidbits about the 3D rendering and all the cool stuff that the engine had to do to actually render on low performance devices. So this is a great book. I definitely recommend it. But ultimately, the port of Doom that is then rendered using SkiaSharp is using the same rendering underneath. So it's kind of rendering pixel by pixel onto a SK bitmap that is then rendered onto the screen at 60 FPS or more if you have more FPS on your display. And it's powered by XK canvas element that is built into Uno Platform. So it's rendering as fast as possible on your device and rendering all those bitmaps onto your screen.
Yeah, well explained. This is so cool. This is like the gathering of the best nerds, bringing this all together. This is amazing. All right, so Martin, anything else?
I think that's it. I definitely recommend you to try out all of those demos. It's all open source, so it's easy to just load it in your browser, or even browse, or even clone that repo and build it locally, because it's just C#. So easy to do.
Really quick, Martin, you said it's 60 frames per second. I was like, I don't think original Doom was 60 frames per second. And I just looked it up. It's 35. So this is actually running faster than the original Doom.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, the original was couldn't run that fast because, limitations of hardware back in the day.
Sure, absolutely. This is awesome.
Yeah,
this is classic Martin here. Make it run 60 frames per second when the original didn't.
So, Martin, while I have you, one more question here from the chat room, our friend MC Nets. Should we rewrite all Uno controls using Skia? And I think that's a nuanced question. For us, like, it's a switch and you gain a huge amount of performance, but I'm not sure if they're talking about custom controls, but what's your thought on this, Martin?
I mean, if you're using Uno Platform with the Skia renderer today, then all your Uno controls are already being rendered using Skia, because it's the whole application is a single canvas on which we are rendering the visual tree using SkiaSharp. So your applications are already being rendered using Skia, but you can still embed specific SkiaSharp only content using SKCanvas elements. So it depends on the scenario. If the layouting system and the styling system that's built into Uno Platform is beneficial to you for your specific scenarios, like making branded buttons, making branded controls in your applications, you can just use styles and templates, and you are in the background taking advantage of the SkiaSharp rendering already. And if you want to render something specific like graphing or maps or things like that does not have a counterpart in the templating system, then you definitely should use SKCanvas element.
Sorry, I was on mute, but yes, I second that. So again, like Uno Platform will bring all of this default rendering with Skia, but if you want to draw yourself, by all means, yeah, absolutely go with the Skia canvas. Okay, all right, Martin, this is amazing stuff, but hang in there in case there are any more questions. But Jeremy, are you ready?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So share your screen whenever you are ready, and I will bring it up.
Okay. Let's see. Let's share this one.
Yep, we see it.
All right.
Okay, hold on. I need to bring down Martin's first. There we go.
Okay,
right,
this is my fun random vibe-coded SkiaSharp gallery. So I had I'll call it like a random shower idea. I'm like, what would I love to see that's rendered in SkiaSharp? So I thought of one of the things that I liked about using Linux. They had those compiz effects. So I decided to see, can I reproduce this? Yes, we can. The little wobbly windows, just thinking about, that was one of the things that actually turned me on to Linux, was literally to be able to see these effects on Windows. And just seeing how performant this is. And yes, it's so awkward that I even took the time to think of this, but just something like this, it's really performant. And this is running natively on ARM64. This is, one of the new Surface laptop with the Snapdragon X2 in it. So that was the first thing. Seeing this performance was phenomenal to me. But just seeing this is so smooth. And the one thing I really like about Uno Platform as well is the documentation is up to date. It's on point. Even the MCP servers, being able to query the documentation from that standpoint and have the help that you need, and it's not guessing and coming up with random things, that makes development with Uno Platform just fantastic. So one of the other things that I like about this is running on WSL2. So this is the same thing. There's no difference in performance. You can't get any better than that. It's literally the same development. It's the same XAML, same everything. And all I did was just compile and target my Linux ARM64 and literally running this from WSL. So there's just the kind of random, just hey, Copilot, just think of some really awesome, ridiculously random things that we can showcase. Touches nothing on what Martin provided, but just seeing that we're able to really develop for all these different platforms, and it's the same code. let's see. I think I have one other thing to show, but
I just want to say before you switch, Jeremy, like I'm completely bummed out because everybody seems to have like a gallery of things to show, and I have nothing. How are you folks so smart and you're just building these amazing things with Skia, and each of you have a gallery of things to show? That's amazing.
well, like Martin's he always comes with so many different amazing examples, and like I figured I had to come up with a few, as I knew that nothing I was going to do was going to touch his. But I would say like there you go, the data just seeing how fast Doom was going, that was so awesome. But like I can't get over just how smooth this interaction is. And this was just me playing around. If I was serious, I could really incorporate something into a full-on, just smooth set of graphs that I could think of me looking at my own web performance, looking at my websites, looking at performance of different applications, and just for no reason making a bunch of things that are smoothly animated. And this is all within Uno Platform, and there's literally no performance difference. And this is, again, me running on ARM64, but natively on Windows, but with I switch it to WSL2, we're going to get that same performance. So that's what I like about, and this is me doing what I love to do, launching this stuff and running on Windows ARM64. I could build once, and I could run and debug on Linux, and I could even do the same if I wanted to. Is I could compile for x64 and run it on Windows as well. So, and the fact that Uno Platform and SkiaSharp runs perfectly on all of this, that's what really blows my mind. It's one of my really random cursed demos that AI did something I don't know what it decided to do, but infinite zoom. But yeah, there's the sort of useful.
Wait. So I have a question. Like, what's going on here? So it's doing a zoom as far as it can, and showing you the difference between vector and raster.
Yeah, and it's just infinitely.
That's amazing. You see the difference in vector right there. Wow.
Yeah. I never told it to stop, apparently, but it just goes on and on forever.
Wow. So this is why designers love vector, obviously, because the fidelity of it.
Yeah, there was one demo I was trying to make work prior to coming on here, but I ran into an issue with. I'll fix it and get it up on my source code repo. But just seeing all the advancements in the simplification of the API surface with SkiaSharp 4, and just how easy it is to integrate with Uno Platform, I have a bunch of random ideas I plan on executing. And if y'all follow me on X, you know that I like to randomly do aha, look at this just ridiculous thing I decided to come up with. And this feels like it's going to be one of those. Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, what I want to see Uno Doom running in WSL, coming through it, rendered that way. So if you're looking for a challenge,
I mean, we probably could make that happen.
It should already work.
And that's what I mean. It should already work. This one is more like, oh, let's just get it all set up and blah 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 blah. But here you go.
It should. Don't tempt me.
But as a desktop, not as the web.
Yeah, I think we could do that.
Yeah, it should be just to compile from the repo and should be all good.
Oh, see, now you're going to make me want to just pull down a repo and try it.
You're welcome, Jeremy.
It amazes me. Like, this is the quality of real-time data visualizations that our users are expecting now. And this is like the fluidity of it, like you said, Jeremy, just like how fun it is to just move around your mouse and just zoom around. This is amazing.
Oh, you just talking about visualization. So if you want one, Jeremy, another cool demo, or you too, Martin, recreate Winamp with Skia.
Ooh.
So it takes in the music and it does all the equalizations and the visualizations that it used to have. So there you go.
Okay, hold on. Hold your horses.
Oh,
Because
no.
I can show you that's been done already.
Oh, okay. Show us. Oh my goodness.
I can actually share screen and show it, but folks can check this out.
I love it. We're waiting, Jeremy, for the Uno Platform.
Yeah, show it. I'm ready.
Yeah, so we have had so much fun in the last 6 months of having MCP tools, having skills, having agents, having all types of build all types of apps with Uno Platform, is because MCPs can help us validate. It's not just a single shot prompt to say go do something and you're not knowing whether it works or not. Here we can say, no, I want you to make a Winamp player and I want you to synchronize the beats and I want you to show everything and you test it, not me. You go test it and let me know when you're done, right? So our good friend, my good friend Matt on my team has done some amazing things, Matt Mitier, and one of those things is up there in the AI gallery is what we call it. And these are some amazing UI apps that are, apps with amazing UI that we have written up entirely with AI. And in there is your Winamp prompt or your Winamp player. In there is the Matrix Digital Rain. Anything that your heart desires, it's doable now.
Wow. This is
It's amazing.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah.
Huh.
So while we're talking, I do want to acknowledge we are, tentatively 20 minutes left for the stream. And I also want to acknowledge, I'm looking at the stats from all end up. So all of the streams or all of the places where we are streaming, we are at 1,900 people watching simultaneously. So hello to everyone. And thank you for hanging out with us. Yeah. I'm sure it's like late evening for a lot of you or, mid-afternoon, early morning for all of you. So thank you for hanging out with us. What I love about all of this is, how inspirational it is. Like me and Javier are feeling like, oh, we need to jump off stream and actually go do stuff. This is very cool stuff. Yeah. So, Jeremy, anything more you want to show?
No, that's that covered it. I had a few other things, but they're like, I'm excited about seeing Doom run. Like that's doing something to my brain right now. I really feel like making that run.
See?
Okay, so how about I share? And I feel really bad because I was feeling good about it until Colin came up and showed all types of Hawaiian themed games like Galaga and other things. Breakout and then Doom and all of your animations, Jeremy. So I am really not feeling good showing a Hello World app, but I will try because that's what I had in mind. So Jeremy, I'm going to bring your screen down for just a second here and try to see if I can share mine. Where is it? Okay, so we are back up. So we are clearly having a lot of fun here with SkiaSharp. But let me show you what I was trying to show. Hold on, not that. I'm going to minimize this away and show my browser. So this is, this, by the way, is our SkiaSharp announcement post. But what I was trying to show was if I head over here to platform.uno and the AI gallery here, this is Winamp right there, Javier, for you. So all types of CRM apps, Sonar apps, Matrix Digital Rain, you name it. Like we have had a good run with it. Fibonacci series, interactive 3D, so it's all in there. So give it a shot. All of this, source code and the prompts are all out there for you to look at. So what I wanted to show was, and again, Martin helped me out here, but I don't think we have actually showed you some of the tooling that you have available to build with SkiaSharp. So this is Uno at its very core. So let me just show you a little bit of the tooling here, and then what you can do with it. So this is we have tons and tons of sample apps. Let me know if the fonts are big enough here. But this is one of our classic sample projects. It's called Chefs. It's a recipes app. So I'm just going to run this on desktop just to kind of show you that this is an Uno Platform project. It's a single shared code base. So your platform's repository is just a list of folders with things you want specific to iOS or Android, but otherwise everything is cross-platform, and it's fairly complicated. It's got a dozen or so views and some view models and some converters and behaviors. So it's a fairly complex XAML and C# app if you want to see it running. So let me run this on desktop. I just want to show you the flashy thing first, and then we'll get down to the lowest basic of seeing it run in other places. So what you see here is the app launching on desktop. I'm going to come out of this for a second. Notice how I can skip around and I can get to the main page, which is my recipes page. So I saw this on multiple demos with Martin and with Jeremy, but this is the thing that we really like pointing out. In here is your hot reload. What Michael Stonis was doing up front, you don't have to keep killing your app and just rebuilding and deploying over and over again. Hot reload is really hot, and it can take care of keeping things in sync between your code and your running app. But we also have hot design. This is the mode in which your app is still running. We have not essentially closed it down. It's just in a suspended state, and you get all of this other stuff. So I get a nice interactive window where I can actually click around my app. I can navigate to wherever I want with it. And then if I want, I can go into the design mode. And at this point, I essentially get a canvas, all right? So I have a toolbox of all the things I can drag and drop, all the UI. I have a nice visual tree. So if I go into design mode and I can actually start selecting things, you can see it's showing me where I am in the visual tree. And this is a big visual tree because it's busy. So here is all of the properties for the thing that I have chosen. So I can drill down even further. That's my value template for the feed view or the collection view essentially. And we can go all the way down to the lowest level data templating. So you see that your app is absolutely running. So that's real data that we are bringing over data binding. So that's the benefit of hot design. At any point, I can just hit the button and I'm back to my app running it. So this is the tooling that you have available with Uno Platform. So hot design and hot reload working hand in hand. So with that, let me switch one time here. And let me show you a super simple Hello World app. And again, I feel really bad after Martin and Jeremy showing you what's possible. Here's my Hello World app, right? And what I'm trying to say is, remember, SkiaSharp, it's Google, that's the heritage that we're coming from. So what we have here, and again, I want to make it extremely clear that this is all experimental. Just the way Martin and Jeremy are playing around, I'm playing around. So none of this is officially supported. So please don't come and say that I said it's now. It's not, but I'm just saying the potential is there for us to spin and get something to work. So here is an Uno Platform app, and I have it running on Net 10 Android, so I can do iOS browser desktop. And for my simulators, I have two. I have a Pixel 9 and I have a Wear OS, right? So that is the Android Wear OS watch type thing, right? So this app literally has nothing. This is our empty app folder. So I'm going to go run this. And it's going to be a slow, cold start. But here it's building it for Net 10 Android, ARM64 Android. So it's going to come up. And essentially what I'm trying to say is, you could, target a variety of types of devices. We don't officially support this, but, it's there for you to play around because it's just Skia. It will render on anything that's, a Google type surface area like this one here. So we'll give it a second to launch. It's doing a build and a cold start of an Android emulator from scratch. Anyone of you have an Android watch?
I want one.
Yeah, me too. I had one, but
this is a better watch. It's called the Apple Ultra watch.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Hey,
I will say this: the reason why I go with it is just a vertical integration, right? It just works better across everything I have. So that's why I got it. So.
I'm the same way, my friend. But for those of you who do, have Android watches, here it is. So this is as simple as it gets. It just says "Hello Uno Platform," but you do see right in here, you still have the hot design and hot reload is still wired up. This one has nothing, but it's fully functional, right? So this is again not something we support officially at all because this is a very go ahead, Martin.
I don't want to spoil anything, but something might be coming actually.
It might be coming.
There, I've seen PRs.
Yeah, there you go. You've seen things. So the challenge here is this is a tiny surface area, right? So for us to even do anything, officially, we have to give you templates. We have to give you ways to not, overflow the boundaries of what you're trying to do. But again, just the promise of just rendering pure bits and just pixels on a screen, SkiaSharp can do that for you, right? Makes sense, right? So that's Wear OS, right? So we'll close that down. Now, I do have one more question for the chat room here, and feel free to weigh in. How many of you look around in your own home and tell me if you have a TV or a fridge that's made by Samsung? How many of you? Can I see hands? Or I don't know if you can chime in chat. Do any of the three of you have Samsung TV or fridge?
I have a fridge, but it's an older one.
I actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you talking about Tizen? Are you going to show them Tizen?
Yeah.
Okay, now we're talking.
So anything Samsung makes that is not running Android, like a small device, it's running Tizen, which is the Samsung operating system. And again, what it is essentially here, let me do a search here. So if I do look up Samsung Tizen, NUI is what they call it. So let's do like what is. So Copilot gives me a nice summary. So this is what it is, right? So it is a natural user interface, C# based hardware accelerated UI toolkit. It just has a different history coming from SkiaSharp versus this, but there's a bridge. So I mean, you can force it to render some Skia things. The problem right now is like it's not a one-to-one. So there are certain native libraries that it's probably not going to like that you're doing it. But again, like you can start tinkering as a developer if you want. So back on my Windows machine, this is. Let's see if I can make this run. It's not running. It's not running anything right now. So can I launch? Because this is, again, a Hello World app. So yes, go ahead and run. And it's going to be slow because it actually has its own Tizen Studio. It has emulators. So you can see like I have a TV one. Here's the one for like tablets and whatnot or phones. So let's launch that. And it might be a little slow just coming off the bat. So I'm going to minimize this. And we'll give it a second for it to fully launch from cold. And then they have nice simulators as well, so you can simulate network connectivity and so on.
Is this actually running the operating system into it, or is it just completely emulated?
No, it's running its own VM, so it's running the.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was, and I was reminded when you're talking about slowness. That's what I figured it would be doing, running the operating system, putting the application in there, and doing all those wonderful things.
It is. So. Oh, it's already in use. Yes, I know it's in use. Can you not deploy? Or maybe I already did deploy. Oh, so it's already deployed, so it's complaining. But so very, very basic. So I'm rendering text, right? Because I heard like text rendering is hard. And I'm rendering like a button. So those are XAML and C# Uno Platform code rendering through a bridge onto NUI. Now, again, this is just me, tinkering around with Copilot or Claude. So just, getting basic text to work is not hard. But, we have to look at the entire tree of everything that we do with like XAML compilation and how we render things with SkiaSharp. So probably not everything is going to translate over. But the promise is there, for us nerds to just tinker around and push the envelope to see, can I make this run on my watch, on my TV? Our fridge actually happens to have like a small screen. It's actually more of a nuisance than it is helpful. But it renders, or it not renders, but it delivers like a little bit of crushed ice. And behind it is like a small screen, and that runs Tizen. So I can spend some weekends launching my app onto my fridge, which seems like a weird thing to say, but here we are. Okay, so Martin, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, all the fun that we can have, right? So
Oh yeah.
I am gonna stop here and see where we left things off. So hang out here with us, Martin and Jeremy, if you don't mind. So let's try to close things out. We are like 5 minutes out, so I'm going to do full screen on this. So, chat room, did you have fun? Do you see the potential of SkiaSharp? Right, we have like what 2,200 people watching right now. This is inspirational for me. Javier, what are your thoughts starting from where we started in the morning?
Well, I think we could have done all this in GDI Plus, but that's just me being an old fuddy-duddy. No, I'm kidding. No, this is amazing, and I say this just because from the perspective of I'm a web developer, right? Because I started doing Windows development forever ago. I did VB6, ATL, OLED components and everything else, and I loved it. But then I saw the web, and I was like, this is a little bit more different because the pace was moving a lot faster, right? Because it was newer and everything else, right? I always had a close tie to Windows development or desktop development, right? But my skills sort of deviated because they're same, but different, but still same, right? When it comes to the skills for some of the development that we do. But with this takes me back to the stuff where I learned, right? Hey, here's the raw APIs if you want to play at that level. Or here's the abstraction above it, or here's this, here's the MCP, here's the skills and everything else. And now like Jeremy was showing with his demo, I was like, I just kind of was vibe coding this stuff and look what it did. And the cool part about it that it generated and you understand actually what's going on. You may not know the details on it, but you can always go look it up. So the fact that I could do all of this for very minimal amount of work and it performs better than what we've had thus far, I think that I've said enough by just making that statement.
Yeah. And things are moving so fast. So Matt is still awake. It's probably pretty late in the evening for him. And he said earlier that
I love that.
151 had dropped, and now he dropped an RC for 150. So we already had preview 2 of 150. Now there is an RC1 because he's bumped it up. So why are we using such old Skia ones? Yeah.
Let's highlight the next comment underneath there, if we can.
Oh, Archie Coder, hello, my friend, our good old friend. So this is as you can see, like it's a tight knit community. Like we all love each other. We see the same faces, the same passionate people doing really cool things with SkiaSharp. And Archie Coder works at Kahua, does amazing things with Uno Platform and SkiaSharp. So yeah, thank you for all being here. There are so many names in the chat that are just so familiar to us over the years. Yeah. Jeremy, let's go back to you one last time. Any other thoughts, any other comments from you? What's exciting for you looking ahead?
Yeah, this is amazing. I've been watching it, this whole thing on and off throughout the day, and just seeing the sheer amount of work that's been put into getting SkiaSharp to where it is right now. I feel like it's definitely solidified and it's in great hands. It's going to be the future. It's here now. The improvements are amazing, and I will say this is the most important thing to me. It runs smooth on my ARM64 Windows device. That's always been the key thing. It's always been something that's usually missing whenever there's things like this. It's always like an afterthought, but it's here right from the beginning. So it's that consistency, and that's important.
Yes, well said, well said. Martin, any thoughts from you?
I mean, my main thought or closing thought is so that everyone who is watching tries it out and plays with SkiaSharp because it's amazing framework and allows you to do crazy fun stuff. And I think that's something that we are probably, kind of missing recently. We have to go back to playing with new things and trying out small projects, making fun things that that make us happy, and are not necessarily just work, but fun. And that's something that I thrive on, and it's something that makes me happy. And I think it's going to be true for many people in the audience, that programming has to be fun, and we have to make it fun by playing with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. So I have a couple of thoughts here as well, but Javier, if you can help me out. So folks, we have, Uno Platform is open source, right? But on top of it is some really solid engineering with Uno Platform Studio that's meant to augment your productivity. So that's a license, and we have like half a dozen licenses here to give away for people who have been asking questions, good ones throughout the day. So Javier, please look through. Let me know if any of those, shout out to you. But I got some, picks right off the gate. I'm just scrolling all the way up to the top. So it might not be the exact question that you asked, but I'm just going to highlight you. MCNets, hello again. So you have asked some really good questions. So you're on for a license for sure. And then we had Mark Allen, 9528. Got some good questions in there as well. So let's scroll down. John Hodnick, 2962. Yeah, great question. So 3 right there. Any more that you see, Javier?
I'm going down. There's something. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to look at it here. It's always the same people have been asking the same questions, which is amazing. So it's kind of hard to see which was they work. It's like, wait a minute, they already have a prize. They shouldn't have one of those, or that maybe they get 2 licenses. Yeah. John, I was going to say, did John Hudnick already have one?
Yep. I had that. Benjamin Askren, you're on.
Yep.
And who else?
I'm trying to. Oh, there was Alberto Rodriguez who asked the size of the app. Remember when we're talking about that with exactly. Colin?
With Colin. Yeah. Yep. So Alberto Rodriguez. Yeah. So that's 4 or 5 right there. We'll look through. So for all of you guys who we are highlighting and naming, if you could drop your emails or just drop us a quick shout out here, and we'll get your email right away. So that's at info.platform.uno. So just drop us a note if we named you in there. Let me scroll all the way down. And this, by the way, is a generic inbox, so you can reach out to us at any time. info@platform.uno. Drop in your name, and we'll get you hooked up with a license. Okay. Let's see. Matt is still on. Thank you for taking my fun pet project and showing how cool it was. It really is. Like what Matt said earlier in the morning, it's like seeing what people are doing with it it's just, there's no better satisfaction to see your baby grow up and doing amazing things. So absolutely. The world could not spin around without Skia. Well said. Yeah.
Literally, I mean, the world, actually, you can animate the world spinning with Skia.
Jeremy, what happened to do?
How'd you know that's what I was doing? Like it was almost obvious. That's what I was doing.
He's like this. I'm just like, I'm staring at the camera, looking to the left, doing something.
All right. So I'm going to highlight this one last thing here. Thank you all. So essentially, we have spent 3 hours. We could, easily go on for more. As you can see what, Martin said, a lot of us have day jobs which are serious, right? Because we are supporting enterprise workflows. We have to get things done for our customers, our users, and things are serious. We have to think about performance and security and all those things, but nothing ties it back together unless you're having fun doing it. So what's your weekend project like? What are you doing with games? And like what Colin was saying, it's often the gaming things that pushes the envelope to the latest. How many FPS can you get? How fast can we render? How tiny can be our footprint? You could take an Uno Platform app and throw it on a Raspberry Pi, right? So we are really pushing the envelope as to where things can go, and SkiaSharp is at the heart of it all, trying to render all the things across all the platforms. Yeah. All right. That's it, right? Congrats to all of you. Martin, and Ramez and Ellie in particular from the Uno Platform side of things. So thank you for all the work. And Matt and John and everybody else at Microsoft, I know they have put in quite a bit of work behind this, just tying it together, bringing everything together into this one big release. It's been several years in the making, but from this point onwards, with that co-ownership, you're going to see that cadence. Every time Google pushes something out, every time Skia pushes something out, you're going to see stable bits and then preview bits following right up. So that's it. That's the day, I think. Javier, any thoughts from you?
No, this is amazing. I've learned a lot. Like, again, this is coming from an old web developer who focuses now on headless stuff. This is pretty awesome. I have a few ideas that I could do for my projects. So it's cool that I now can bring those old skills back to life.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have 2,400 people watching, but we do have to bring things down to a close here. But here are two things where you can go try things out right now. SkiaSharp, that's the mono GitHub IO repo. SkiaSharp, all of the the fiddle that Martin or Matt showed off, that's up there. The galleries are up there. Try things out. And then Uno Platform, everything we do is at platform.uno. The Microsoft and the Uno Platform blogs are up. So start there and play around with latest and greatest with SkiaSharp. This is cross-platform graphics rendering taken to the max, and you can see what all we can do with it. So from all of us here at Uno Platform and at Microsoft, all of the speakers, thank you all in the chat room. Thank you for staying tuned in for a long stream. Hopefully this was fun. We switched around between, going to the basics, seeing enterprise needs, and all the fun you can have. So hopefully this is inspirational. And that's it. That's it from us. Javier, thank you for co-hosting. I appreciate you, my friend. And,
thank you for having me.
Yeah, that's it from us, folks. Take care, be well, and be productive. We will see you on the next thing. All right. Bye for now.
See everybody.
Bye.
See you, everyone. I just got Doom working.
Yes.
There we go.